the maximum level expert. She thrives in Interstellar. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226, Sister Farke's Fans Benefits 1. User Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. Presented the Anchor Gongzi Farke Air Friendship Boat. Congratulations on becoming the Anchor's 96,572nd shipmate. User Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. Presented the Anchor Gongzi Farke 5 luxurious treasure maps. Let the Anchor successfully climb to the 10th place on the main station popularity list after these two bullet screens with shining special effects passed by. Wen Jiu watched the popularity of his live broadcast stream instantly soar to tens of millions, and the number of online viewers also rose straight to more than 2 million. Bang bang da hammer. I clicked in from the homepage broadcast to draw a prize. Are there any friends like me? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. My god. 5 luxurious treasure maps. Where did the Anchor on the other side come from? The rising sun. I also came from the homepage broadcast. How is the cooking of this food, Anchor? When will the tasting start? I'm so hungry. Does Rocky not want to win the park? This directly turned the park bar of Sister Farke into 100%. Wen Jiu was very surprised and clicked on the reward and gift interface. Only then did he find that the luxury treasure map was the most expensive of all the reward gifts. It costs nearly 100,000 star coins to send a luxury treasure map, and every time a luxury treasure map is rewarded to the Anchor, a homepage broadcast and a broadcast in the entire live broadcast room will appear. It will also increase the Anchor's popularity, and at the same time, a treasure chest grab will appear, allowing those who click in to watch the live broadcast to grab the treasure chest reward. Sister Mau Mau, you are really amazing. Rocky raised his hands and gave the camera 2 thumbs up. Celery is so unpalatable that you can make it delicious. I believe that other dishes you make must be even more delicious. He was really conquered by this celery fried meat. What Jasmine restaurant in the top 10 restaurants in the Federation are not as good as the little Anchor's superb cooking skills? Which planet and which school do you work at? Rocky picked up the chopsticks and ate the fried celery with meat. How about considering being my personal chef? I can offer you a very high salary and guarantee that you will be satisfied. Eat a carrot. Although I know that Rocky is a hidden rich man, I really didn't expect you to be so rich. Brother, give me a hug. What's going on? Is there any brother who understands me? Isn't this a park? Why is the guy next door poaching? The world without rice is not perfect. Wait, what kind of peerless dark cuisine did I hear? Fried celery with meat. Can this thing really be eaten? Each audience member noticed different points, and the dense barrage blocked the entire screen. Sorry, I'm quite satisfied with my current job, and I'm not considering changing jobs for the time being. When Jiu looked at the various barrages that passed by, and when she thought of the 5 treasure maps that would allow her to get a lot of gift money, she instantly grinned. But she soon stopped laughing, because an audience member in the barrage mentioned an important thing that she had forgotten. Zio. By the way, did Sister Farke forget one thing? Where did the promised 100,000 fans benefit go? Pumpkin Dagwanan. Damn, I almost forgot about it. Sister Farke's followers have skyrocketed, and now it's almost 300,000. Beauty is speechless, and Sister Farke has advanced to the second round of park this time. Shouldn't she give us a big benefit? When the fans mentioned this, Wen Jiu remembered that he had forgotten about the 100,000 fans benefit. Sorry. She coughed awkwardly twice. I've been too busy recently, and I've finished this matter. This really can't be blamed on her. She works in the cafeteria and is a part-time anchor. She also has to study hard and take classes and work as a part-time cooking teacher. Occasionally, she has to go to the Star Network world to set up a small stall at night. It's easy to forget things when she's busy, but now her fans are about to soar to 300,000, and it seems a bit inappropriate to do 100,000 fans benefits. There are too few spots for tasting each time, so Wen Jiu feels that it is not good to use tasting as a welfare. After thinking about it, she has a feasible way. Thank you again for your support. Wen Jiu leaned forward and bowed slightly. To show my gratitude, I will open the small shop function next. I will put a kind of dessert on the shelf in the small shop, and everyone can take pictures according to their needs. Then I will set the selling price to 1 star coin, and give back to everyone without profit. Wen Jiu mainly thought that the money fans follow her just to eat delicious food, so she thought of giving back to them in this way, and it just happened to let more people taste her craftsmanship. As soon as she finished speaking, the audience was instantly excited. Big brother monkey, this welfare is very good, but I don't know what kind of dessert Sister Farke is going to make. Broken into glass shards. Woo woo woo. I have been following Sister Farke for several months, and I watch every live broadcast, but I can't grab a tasting every time. Finally, I, a poor guy, can taste Sister Farke's food. I'm going to tag all members in the group. Let's sell the desserts of explosive wealth, sister. Boost her sales. Wen Jiu almost laughed out loud when he saw the comment that said he wanted to boost his sales. I don't know why, but I always feel like a celebrity endorsement calling on fans to buy it. But she really doesn't need to boost sales. It's originally a non-profit product to give back to fans. If they need it, they can just buy it. Cat sister, I'm serious. I'm very rich. Rocky said very boldly. Consider changing jobs. I'll satisfy you whatever you want. Why does the opposite anchor have the visual sense of a domineering president? Woman, I'll support you. Laughing to death is a young president who loves to eat, worthy of middle-aged aunt who loves to cook. 79 CP. No, no, no. I don't agree with this. Get Fujikawa Sachiko over here. I want to pair her with. The style of the barrage was temporarily diverted, and fans began to discuss what couples they were supporting. Some were supporting the beautiful Sachiko and Mayo Taokefu, and some were supporting the domineering Rocky and the cold and wealthy. There were even people who paired Gongzi Farke with other anchors she didn't know, which made Wen Jiu stunned. Stop it, stop it. Wen Jiu decisively stopped them from continuing to communicate. Shouldn't you care about the fans' welfare? I care, I care. Rocky quickly took over the conversation. Can you make egg yolk shortbread? Or that strawberry black cake? I especially like these two desserts. The man like the wind. Why are you ordering food? Rocky, you are just ignorant. Learn more from us money lovers. Chris, come on. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Mom, make whatever dessert you want. We all love it. Today's first update. Thank you for the support of every little angel. 030, Small Theater, fan number 1 of Sister Farke, Sachiko and Sister Farke are real. I'm dying of love. Fan number 2 of Sister Farke. 79 is the real thing. Be brave 77 and chase Sister Farke. Fan number 3 of Sister Farke, Mom, I won't allow you to remarry. Take care of us greedy kids. Luyan. 0.0 Wen Jiu, he underscore. Chapter 227, Sister Farke's fans benefits too. Rocky was a little confused. He didn't expect these fans to call him Mayo Tao Anchor, although he wanted to get closer to her so that he could try to dig into her. But he couldn't accept this way of getting closer. Cathead Sister Rocky suddenly changed his style, blinking his emerald eyes. Seeing this, Zikingayu, who was joining in the fun, got goosebumps instantly. Sister, is that big brother trying to be cute to you? I don't know, and I don't want to know. Wen Jiu only glanced at her and turned his head away from the light screen panel. In fact, Rocky looks pretty good, with 3-dimensional and delicate facial features, and his emerald eyes are as bright as emeralds. If he wasn't particularly silly when he was doing the food broadcast, just looking at his appearance would make people think he was an indecent playboy. But since Wen Jiu had contact with Luyan, she felt that no one could compare to Luyan. Although she likes to appreciate beautiful women, she now only covets Luyan's beauty. So in terms of appearance, no one else can catch her eye. Wen Jiu paused for a moment before turning around and looking at the light screen panel. At this time, her popularity park with Rocky had ended. She won this time with a 100% park bar. Thank you for your support. Wen Jiu bowed to the camera again. Thank you, Rocky, for your strong support. The person who contributed the most to this park must be Rocky, who gave away 5 luxurious treasure maps. So Wen Jiu thanked him very politely and then continued, after I open the small shop later, everyone can place an order to buy desserts. But it's almost the end of the term and I will be busy, so all orders will have to wait until next month to be made and sent out. If you can't wait, don't take pictures, so as not to waste your time. There are still 10 days until the end of the term. She really can't spare the time to make welfare orders for fans, so she can only wait until the holiday. Fortunately, the audience is very reasonable. Yi Shio Dalang 33, it's okay, it doesn't matter if you wait for so long. But I hope you can put some meat next time, chicken jerky, beef jerky, etc. Ding dang 20, it's not a big deal. It's been more than 2 months since I last got a chance to taste it. Once, how can I make a small request? I hope it's not too sweet. Wen Jiu was looking at the barrage seriously and saw an extremely dazzling and crazy golden barrage appeared right above the screen. Luoki wants to eat all over the stars. I'm speechless. The connection was automatically disconnected as soon as the park ended. Sister Mayo Mayo, can I add your contact information? It's okay to be a friend without being a private chef. Seeing this golden barrage, Wen Jiu was speechless. Is this what a rich person is? Even the barrage has a golden special effect. But she still clicked on her private message, and the top one was a friend request from Luoki. After all, the other party sent her 5 luxurious treasure maps, so Wen Jiu still added a friend. Okay, today's noon live broadcast ends here. See you tonight. After waving goodbye to the camera, Wen Jiu closed the live broadcast. I think I heard you say you wanted to make desserts, Georgie. Zikingayu approached slyly. What kind of dessert? Let us try it first. That's right. Kaioshishi echoed beside her. Is it the kind we haven't eaten before? Seeing that the two were so curious, Wen Jiu just smiled and kept it a secret. You will know when the holiday comes. She was actually thinking about what kind of dessert would be better. After all, she has so many fans now, so there must be a lot of people who will place orders. You didn't even tell us. Ouch. Wen Jiu stuck out his tongue and changed the subject directly. Go back to the dormitory and rest first. Hearing her say this, Zikingayu and Kaioshishi could only look at each other helplessly. They had already cleaned up the kitchen consciously, so they could just leave now. After returning to the dormitory, Kaioshishi turned into the king of rolls again. She said that she only slept for 20 minutes before getting up to go to the training ground and then practiced for an extra hour before going to class. Wen Jiu was obviously much more relaxed. She didn't think about going to practice extra or anything. The only problem was that she couldn't fall asleep because she tossed and turned in bed. Alas. She sighed in a barely audible voice. She didn't expect that she would have a day of insomnia. Since she couldn't fall asleep anyway, Wen Jiu simply opened the light screen panel and browsed. She first clicked on Zingbo and found that her video of buttermelon stuffed with meat had been forwarded tens of thousands of times. It seems that her fans are really working hard, so she has to do a good job of fan welfare this time. Then Wen Jiu flipped through the homepage of Zingbo again and happened to see a Zingbo called Beautiful Scenery in Snowy Days. Beautiful Scenery in Snowy Days. Wen Jiu read it out in a very low voice. The vast expanse of white always made her feel very familiar. But after thinking for a moment, she couldn't remember where it was familiar and just thought she had seen it somewhere before. However, this Zingbo gave Wen Jiu inspiration. She could make snowflake crisps as a fan welfare. The method of making snowflake crisps is very simple and hassle-free, and it is suitable for all ages and tastes good. And she can make a lot of snowflake crisps at one time, so she doesn't have to worry about being too busy. So Wen Jiu went on Bicalive and found the small shop function in personal management. This function is also very convenient to operate. Just open the small shop and put items on the shelves. She only fiddled with it for a while and successfully opened the small shop and put the snowflake crisps on the shelves of her own small shop. However, she has not made the actual snowflake crisps yet, so she can only draw a long strip pattern as a product picture. The green grass on the head. Attention, all money fans. Sister Fake has put the product snowflake crisps on the shelves in the small shop. Money fans who needed remember to take pictures as soon as possible. Bing Chun, brother Ching, you are so awesome. You came to the group to notify Sister Farke just a few seconds after she put it on the shelves. I will place an order now, but I don't think I have heard of what kind of dessert snowflake crisps are. Little bear poo poo poo. No matter what kind of dessert it is, the food made by Sister Farke is not unpalatable. And this is a fan benefit. It must be super delicious. I'll go place an order for 10 first. So when Jiu watched the red dots on her message bar keep lighting up, she clicked on it to see the details, only to find that it was fans who came to buy the snowflake crisps she put on the shelf. She expected that fans would come to place orders quickly, but she didn't expect that these fans would buy 5, 10 or even 20 pieces. So her snowflake crisps were sold out in just 1 minute after they were put on the shelf. Seeing this number, Wen Jiu felt a headache. How long would she have to make snowflake crisps? The second update was also delivered perfectly. Hehe 030. Chapter 228 What a hot man. 1. But she had already promised her fans to give them benefits, so she would never go back on her word. The worst that could happen is that she would have to work overtime day and night to make snowflake crisps. Then she could ask Kao Shishi and Zikangayu to help, and she would be able to complete these orders. So when Jiu thought about it and felt relieved, just when she was about to turn off the light screen panel and close her eyes to rest, she saw another pop-up window pop up on it. 8888 star coins have been received in your account. When she saw this message pop up window, Wen Jiu instantly thought of the handsome guy last night. Sure enough, she received a message from the other party the next second. Yan, hello, Mr. Sun. It was another very polite opening remark, but when Jiu still replied to the other party. Jia K119, hello, Mr. Lu, how long will it take this time? She didn't understand. This handsome guy looked like a man of few words, so why did he always look for her to chat with him? Could it be that he wanted to practice the art of speaking? Yan, it's up to you. This confused Wen Jiu, and she didn't know how to reply for a moment. Last night, we chatted for half an hour for more than 6,000 star coins. Now, if we count the more than 8,000 star coins, it should be more than 40 minutes. Family wealth 9, how about 40 minutes? And do you want to listen to a nap story or chat or something? Lu Yan leaned on the soft sofa in front of the French window. It was rare for him to have such a relaxing time. The golden sunlight lazily sprinkled down, shining on people very warmly. He just finished a meeting half an hour ago. Unlike other normal students, he was gifted since childhood and was a multi-system supernatural person. So since he could remember, he was often taken by his father to various places to inspect military regions and perform tasks. It can be said that he has lived on the battlefield since he was a child, with only endless fighting and struggles. According to convention and his father's teachings, Lu Yan should have investigated Sun Badao's identity. If the other party really had extremely strong abilities, he would report it to the first military region to recruit this person. But since last night, Lu Yan had violated the rules unconsciously. Not only did he not report the matter of Sun Badao, he even used his own ability to weaken the powerful effect of the amulet in Mingayu's subconscious mind. Lu Yan knew that it was wrong for him to do so, but he just wanted this person who could talk to him to stay longer, even if it cost him money. Thinking of this, a ray of blue light flashed in his extremely beautiful dark phoenix eyes. 9. I see that you don't want to sleep either, so let's chat for a while. 9. You come to me again and again. Are you curious about my amulet? When Jiu didn't believe that this handsome guy came to her just to chat, she thought about it and felt that the other party was probably curious about the amulet. After all, she had sold amulets to Mingayu several times, and the other party appeared with Mingayu twice, so they should be good friends. So Mingayu must have told the handsome boy how magical her amulet was. As she expected, the other party really replied with a HMM. A fortune of 1,000,000. Your curiosity is useless. This is a family heirloom. You have to go through various complicated rituals such as bathing and fumigation, and then use the secret formula to draw the talisman. And I don't sell other talismans recently. If you want to repel mosquitoes and insects, I can give you a few. After seeing the other party's reply, Lu Yan unconsciously revealed a smile. He just whispered, liar. But there was no other meaning in this sentence, but rather a teasing meaning. Meng Jiu had told him before that Sun Badao drew talismans easily, and there was no so-called complicated ritual at all. So when Lu Yan saw Sun Badao's answer now, he just felt a little funny. However, Wen Jiu on the other end didn't know that the other party had seen through her, and she was still talking nonsense seriously. A fortune of $1 million, and there are high requirements for doing our business. First of all, you have to maintain your virginity and not have too many distracting thoughts. 9 Mr. Lu, it is impossible for you to become my disciple. After all, you are so good looking, there must be many girls who will throw themselves at you, right? Wen Jiu said this because she wanted to gossip, and on the other hand, she wanted to persuade the other party not to come to her to ask about the talisman. The most important thing is to tell the other party that the requirements for learning to draw talismans are very high, so it is understandable that she sells them at such a high price. Moreover, she is acting according to the uninhibited, straightforward, and direct personality of Sun Badao, so she has to speak more straightforwardly. However, what she didn't expect was that the other party actually answered her question seriously. No. Wen Jiu didn't really understand what he meant by no, but she continued to talk nonsense. 9 No, it's good. The most important thing for a man is to keep male virtue. Lu Yan looked at the new message sent by Sun Badao and fell into deep thought. It was the first time he heard such a concept. After all, his father had only taught him how to fight since he was a child. As for the concept that men should observe male virtues, this was the first time he had come across it. So he immediately searched on the Star Network. What does it mean that men should observe male virtues? Answer: a man who does not love himself is like rotten leafy vegetables. Lu Yan. Even though he was always quick to learn, he could not understand the meaning of this sentence for a while. But in order to continue chatting with Sun Badao, Lu Yan saved this answer in his memo. He planned to check it again in the database when he had enough time. 9. Hey, why is the person gone? Yan, I was busy just now. Yan, Mr. Sun, I will observe male virtues. Wen Jiu did a sit up on the bed after seeing this answer. She stared at the message interface with wide eyes. How could a young man who looked quite smart be easily led astray by herself? But she soon came to her senses. Maybe the other party was just going along with the situation to get some words? So Wen Jiu thought she had seen through Lu Yan and sent a new message to continue to communicate with the other party. She was confident that she had seen through the truth. On the other side, Lu Yan was constantly using his wit and flexible search to have a very friendly conversation with Wen Jiu. The result was 9. Have you heard of cultivation? I think you are a good seedling. Yan, thank you for the compliment. Smile. 9. Don't you want to know the secret of the talisman? Become my disciple of cultivation, and I can teach you the secret method of talismans. Yan, thank you. I don't want to. Smile. Damn. What's wrong with this person? At this time, Kyoshi had already gotten up and left, so when Jiu was so angry that she shouted out instantly. She thought to herself, is the other party really just here to chat? Did she misunderstand? But this person's words are so annoying. Why is he so weird? Lu Yan, who was sitting quietly, was constantly thinking, what does cultivation mean? What are the secret spells? However, what he cared about most was how he answered. He thought his reply was very polite and quite friendly. Little did he know that he made Wen Jiu so angry that he grabbed the pillow and beat him up. If it weren't for earning these thousands of star coins, Wen Jiu really wanted to close the light curtain panel and stop replying. Fortunately, the other party did not send a smiling expression next, so she chatted casually for a few more words. After 40 minutes, she immediately sent a goodbye expression and went offline. Today is also a difficult day to make money. Today's third update, please check it out. Little Angels. Small theater. Search. Social tips. Answer. Use a smiling expression when chatting to better express your friendliness. Lu Yan. I learned it. 0.0. Chapter 229 Delicious Claypot Rice 1. Wen Jiu didn't feel sleepy at first, but after lying on the bed and resting her eyes for a while, she gradually fell asleep. She slept until the alarm rang. Then she got up quickly, put on her clothes, and ran to the door of the classroom where she was learning simulated mecha driving. "Teacher, this is what happened." Wen Jiu heard Sun Mao's voice as soon as she entered the door. She looked up and happened to meet Sun Mao's eyes. The other party was standing next to Gao Green, and he stopped talking after seeing her come in. "Good afternoon, Teacher Green." "Good afternoon, Student Sun." Wen Jiu pretended to be calm and walked over. Then she sat on the rest sofa and waited for other students to arrive. At the moment she lowered her head, Gao Green raised his chin slightly and gave her a look. "Student Sun, I already understand the matter. Later, I will go to the dean to write you a leave note." "Thank you, Teacher Green." Sun Mao bowed very respectfully and then walked to sit next to Wen Jiu. After sitting down for only a few minutes, Sun Mao spoke softly. "Classmate Wen, I have found a job. Also, I'm sorry to disturb you and other classmates at noon." "It's okay." Wen Jiu smiled and showed two fangs, which attracted Sun Mao's attention. She was about to say something else when she saw a figure rushing over and instantly squeezed her aside. "Sister Jiu, here I come." Zikingai made a face at Wen Jiu. Seeing him coming, Sun Mao just pursed her lips and moved away. Wen Jiu could see that the two of them didn't get along, so she leaned close to Zikingai's ear and whispered a question. Only then did she know that Zikingai often took fighting classes with Sun Mao. The two had similar fighting skills, and even their skills in using guns were not much different. The only difference was that Zikingai usually stopped at a certain point. As long as the student he was fighting with shouted to stop, he would immediately stop. However, Sun Mao looked quite gentle, but she was quite ruthless in fighting. She was particularly heavy-handed. She never paid attention to the classmates who called for a stop and would keep fighting until she forced the opponent off the fighting stage. Zikingai did not agree with this behavior. After all, the two of them were in the same class, so they were inevitably drawn to fight. But their abilities were not much different, and they always ended in a tie. Zikingai did not care about this, because he only wanted to improve himself after class. But Sun Mao could not stand this kind of tie, and often looked for opportunities to sneak attack him after the call for a stop. For this, Sun Mao was punished by Uruman several times. So I think people like her have a very bad style. What kind of ability is it to sneak attack? Zikingai said this and clicked his tongue twice, and once she secretly used her supernatural power to attack me, and she almost succeeded. Fortunately, this young master reacted quickly. "Ben, what?" When Jiu glanced at him, Zikingai, who had just lifted her tail, immediately returned to normal and said, I was wrong. Oh, anyway, you should have less contact with her. Now she and I are in the same fighting class, and teacher you won't let us fight each other, so she can't find her chance to attack. I think she is jealous of my talent and strong learning ability. It turns out that geniuses are easily envied. Seeing that Zikingai started to brag about himself again, when Jiu just held his forehead silently and stopped talking to him. But she should really pay attention to Sun Mao and that Gao Green. Both of them made her feel a little strange. But if she wanted to say what was strange, she couldn't find any evidence for a while, so she could only pay attention to them silently. After a while, the students arrived one after another, and Zikingai didn't say anything more. Gao Green didn't show up until the bell rang. As always, he had a paralyzed face, as if every student who came to class owed him 5 million. After greeting the students politely with a cold face, he ordered everyone to start self-training. Only when Jiu passed by him did he reluctantly smile. Practice well. Gao Green suddenly patted Wen Jiu's shoulder, and when she stopped, he leaned over and continued, you are different from them. However, Wen Jiu just raised her head and smiled back at him. Indeed, I'm the poorest in the school. After that, she strode towards the simulated cockpit. Only Gao Green was left standing there with a twitching mouth, but he quickly recovered and loudly announced the rules of self-training. After he finished speaking, the students began their self-training obediently. When Jiu felt a little bored sitting in the cockpit. There were too few training modes for first-year students, and every class was self-training. After training and training, she had already cleared all the training modes for first year students. Of course, she didn't know that this was due to her high talent and strong mental strength. The other students were still struggling to simulate fighting with interstellar monsters. After completing the challenge training mode again, Wen Jiu leaned back in the driver's seat and closed his eyes to rest. It was not until Green's voice sounded in the cockpit, announcing the end of the independent training, that she unbuckled her seatbelt and walked towards the hatch. Today's training ends here, class dismissed. Green still looked unhappy with everyone. This time, he did not stop Wen Jiu, but just stared at him coldly as he left. Alas, I still haven't beaten the big turtle today. Zikingayu followed closely beside Wen Jiu and began to complain. When I fired, he hid in his shell, and I couldn't get him out, no matter how hard I fired. The big turtle he was talking about was a second level interstellar monster, the Gogus turtle, which had extremely high defense and was difficult to kill. Although the simulation training would tell the weaknesses of the interstellar monster, it was up to the students themselves to break through and defeat the target. That's quite simple. Wen Jiu looked at him in surprise. You aim at its tail with your hunting bow and shoot. When it can't stand it anymore and sticks its head out, just use your weapon to attack it instantly. Tail. Zikingayu thought for a moment, but the training tips say that the big turtle's weakness is its head. Wen Jiu rolled his eyes after hearing this. You are so old and still can't adapt. What are you going to do when its head is retracted? Then you have to find a way to force it out? Are you going to hit its shell hard? At the end, Wen Jiu couldn't help but complain. You still say you are smart, but I think you are a little fool. You. Zikingayu was speechless after being complained by her and just snorted and stopped talking. In fact, Wen Jiu would not complain about people like this under normal circumstances. The main reason is that Zikingayu is different from ordinary people. He always likes to maintain a little proud look. And he is used to being criticized by Wen Jiu and Kyoshishi, so he doesn't care about these. Today's first update. Yay. Successfully delivered. 030 Thank you to every little angel who keeps following me. Thank you to every little angel who supports me. 039. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230 Delicious Claypot Rice 2. As a result, Wen Jiu added leisurely, if you go there, you won't have anything to eat tonight. Zikingayu, who had just taken a step forward, immediately stepped back. He puffed up his cheeks and looked at Wen Jiu aggrievedly. Really? Seeing his look, Wen Jiu chuckled and waved her hand and said, it's fake. Go to training. Zikingayu confirmed it again and again and then left the kitchen, looking back every few steps. Just after he left for a while, Wen Jiu picked up the big basin and walked towards the elevator. This time, she didn't meet any strange people. So after she entered the rooftop, she quickly pierced the bacon and tied it with a rope to hang it up. After a while, she hung a large basin of bacon on the wooden rack. Then Wen Jiu took down 2 more sausages and planned to go back to make a clay pot rice for dinner. She held the basin in one hand and the sausage in the other and slowly walked back to the kitchen at window number 18. Just as she was about to enter the door, she suddenly heard footsteps. Wen Jiu turned around and saw that it was the 2 young ladies at window number 17. Hello, classmate Wen. And Xiaohua and Sun Ye took the initiative to greet her. Seeing this, Wen Jiu also responded with a smile. Sorry, am I late? Sun Mao came out from somewhere and she walked quickly to Xiaohua and Sun Ye. Hello, classmate Wen. She walked over and whispered a few words to Sun Ye and then looked at Wen Jiu and greeted her. Wen Jiu remembered that Sun Mao said that he had found a job and he thought it should be at window number 17. However, window number 17 was indeed short of people because Xiaohua's cooking skills improved very quickly, so many people would choose to go to window number 17 to order when they could not get in line at window number 18. So Wen Jiu didn't think much about it, just exchanged a few words with them, and opened the door, and returned to the kitchen of window number 18. The tasting dishes in the evening were the same as those at noon, still celery fried meat. Wen Jiu didn't need to worry about the canteen meals. She just needed to take out the frozen glutinous rice balls and dumplings and cook them. She only needed to prepare the dipping sauce now. Hello everyone, I'm the anchor. I wish you good fortune. Wen Jiu turned on the live broadcast as usual. She was frying peanuts in the pot. After the peanuts are fried, they are put into the blender and crushed. Then, fry some white sesame seeds and you can start making the dumplings dipping sauce. Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. Cat head sister, here I come. What delicious food are you going to make tonight? I'm so hungry. The rich man appeared. When will Miss Sachiko appear? The green grass on her head. Sachiko doesn't seem to be broadcasting tonight, but she can secretly watch Sister Fake, even if she doesn't broadcast. Tonight's tasting dish is still celery and pork. Wen Jiu poured the fried peanuts into the blender. Just then, another viewer asked about her live broadcast time, so she added, generally, it starts at lunch and dinner time from Monday to Friday, and takes a break on weekends. The tasting is different every day, but the lunch and evening are the same. How many rounds to open depends on the situation, but I will try to open 3 rounds. While answering the audience's questions, she prepared the dipping sauce for the dumplings. Pour the crushed cooked peanuts and white sesame seeds into the basin, then add the chili oil prepared earlier, and finally add some aged vinegar, MSG, soy sauce and chicken powder to season and mix well, and the fragrant and delicious dumpling dipping sauce is ready. After making the dumpling dipping sauce, Wen Jiu took out a bag of rice from the storage box. This rice is the most suitable rice for making clay pot rice. It is slender and has just the right starch content. It is soft and not mushy when cooked, and the taste is particularly good. The main thing is that the rice must be soaked for more than half an hour before making clay pot rice. So she scooped out a few spoonfuls of rice and washed it, and then poured the washed rice into the basin and soaked it in clean water. Let's start preparing the ingredients for celery fried meat. After saying that, Wen Jiu picked up the celery and flame fruit that he had washed at noon and began to process them on the chopping board. A world without rice is not perfect. Oh my god, is it really celery fried meat? I came from the radio at noon, and I didn't expect this to be a dark cooking anchor. 1 week flowering season. Sisters in front believe me. Sister Fake is really not a dark cooking anchor. If she is, there really wouldn't be many food anchors. The rising sun, really? Sister, don't lie to me. You said honest people don't lie to honest people. Wen Jiu has long been accustomed to the doubts of new viewers, so she didn't say much, just doing her own thing seriously. After a while, when she finished preparing the ingredients for celery fried meat, Zikingayu and Kyoshishi also came to the kitchen. Get ready, it's more than 10 minutes before the business starts. Wen Jiu assigned tasks to the 2 of them. The 3 of them worked much faster, and even after the business started, each of them continued to carry out their own work in an orderly manner. The business at window number 18 has always been the hottest, so they closed the evening business after an hour. Wen Jiu took out the sausages she brought back in the afternoon. Because they were just collected and not frozen, they did not need to be steamed and thawed. So she washed the sausages with clean water, and then cut them into slices with a kitchen knife. Rocky wants to eat all over the galaxy. What is this long and round thing? Little bear poo poo poo. I saw Rocky giving gifts to Sister Fake again. Woo 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 79 is real. Fujikura Sachiko, what is real? I just rushed to the live broadcast room. What did I miss? I'm so hungry. Oh my god. Miss Sachiko is here to give gifts too. Woohoo. Sisters are the best. No love CP can compare to sisterhood. Wen Jiu naturally noticed the situation in the barrage. After all, Rocky's barrage special effects were golden, while Fujikura Sachiko's barrage special effects were pink with petals. It was very difficult for her not to notice these 2 eye-catching special effects. What we are going to make now is clay pot rice, but this won't be taken out for tasting for the time being. Wen Jiu explained patiently, this long and round thing is called sausage, and it's a very delicious food. It can be eaten alone after being cooked, or it can be used to make clay pot rice or other dishes. She was making the clay pot rice while talking. After putting the small pot on the stove, she started making fried celery and meat, and by the way, started the competition for the tasting position. Today's second update has also been delivered. Please check it out. Little Angels 030. Chapter 231 Delicious Clay Pot Rice 3. After sweeping away all the celery and meat, Wen Jiu originally planned to go off the air, but the audience was clamoring to see the two little cats eating live. She was a little confused. What was so good about not showing their faces? But the audience launched a fancy barrage, so she had to ask for the opinions of Zikingayu and Kaioshishi, and continued the live broadcast after they agreed. This clay pot rice is ready now. Wen Jiu brought the 3 small pots to the table with a towel over the heat. Because it is getting closer and closer to the end of the semester, Rumen has more and more work. It's good that she can take time to come to the cafeteria during lunchtime. She has no time to stay for a free meal. Surprise revealed when Jiu slowly opened the lid of the small pot, and the hot steam rose with a rich rice aroma and a faint meat aroma. A large part of the dark red sausage slices was spread on the crystal clear ice, and a small part was nestled with a round egg, and a small cluster of emerald green vegetables as embellishment. This scene alone made many viewers excited. A world without rice is not perfect. Hiss. This fragrance is comparable to the celery, fried meat just now. I reflected on what I said before, that the anchor was a dark cuisine, and it turned out that I was still too young. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. I want to report Sister Farke. Woo woo woo. Why can't I eat this clay pot rice? Brother Monkey, this is the first time I know that there is such a way to cook rice, and I have learned something new. A Big Wolf 33. A woo. Meat, meat, meat. This sausage smells so good. Please tell me how to make it, Sister Farke. When Jiu let the audience send crazy comments, she just silently picked up the sauce and poured it on the clay pot rice, and then used a spoon to mix the clay pot rice evenly. I see you're all curious about this clay pot rice, so why don't I zoom in and show you a good look. As she spoke, she scooped up a spoonful of the mixed rice. The slender rice grains were dyed brown by the sauce, and there was a little bit of oil on them that was shining. Fujikura Sachiko, Sister Fortune. I'm starting to hate you. Unless you make me a separate clay pot rice, then I'll like you super much. Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. Who are you to command me, Sister Cat? Sister Cat, I'm Rocky, your number 1. We just cared at noon. Can you give me a whole portion of this clay pot rice? I can pay for the Federal Express postage. Pumpkin Dagwanan, I'm dying of laughter. The number 1 and number 2 are fighting. You two are competing for favor like this. Do your fans know? Stop arguing. Stop arguing. When Jiu taught Zikingayu and Kaioshishi to mix their clay pot rice, we are going to have dinner. As soon as the voice fell, Zikingayu, who couldn't wait, scooped a full spoonful and ate it. He was really hungry. In the past, he could eat after finishing work, but tonight he had to wait for almost half an hour. The sweet and delicious rice had a fresh fragrance, and the meaty taste of sausages was also blended in it, and the eggs mixed into small pieces were particularly chewy. His hungry stomach was instantly soothed after this bite, so he picked up the sausage slices and took another bite. It was salty and sweet, and soft and chewy. The full meat grains had all kinds of flavors, and even the rich and fragrant gravy overflowed in the mouth. Take another big mouthful of rice. The grains are full and distinct, and the sauce mixed in it adds a different kind of deliciousness to the rice, and the light sweetness mixed in it does not seem abrupt. But what surprised him the most was the burnt rice crust at the bottom of the pot, which had both the aroma of burnt rice and the aroma of rice itself, and was crunchy when eaten. Zikingayu and Kaioshishi ate up their clay pot rice in a whirlwind manner, which made the audience jealous. A man like the wind. I envy these two little cats and cat heads so much. Can I have a clay pot rice if I recognize Sister Farke as my mother now? Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. Someone once told me that there are always things that money can't buy, and I think it's funny. Now I find that the clown is actually myself. I have become the number 1 on the list and still can't eat clay pot rice. It's so painful. Beauty is speechless. Why don't you send a private message to Sister Farke? Woman, how much money do you want to leave? No. Woman, how much money do you want to make me a clay pot rice? Wen Jiu never avoided Zikingai Kaioshishi when she broadcast live, so she would turn off the privacy shielding function every time she broadcast live. Therefore, both Zikingai and Kaioshishi could see her light screen panel, which meant that they could see the comments on it. At first, they were not used to being teased as Wen Jiu's children, but later they gradually got used to it. They were just forced to be children, and it was fine, as long as they could have delicious food to eat. And these were all automatically made up by the audience. They didn't really call Wen Jiu a mother. Stop arguing. Wen Jiu glanced at the comments. It's not very convenient to make clay pot rice for tasting, but sausages are okay. It's just that I don't make many sausages, so I can only make a small batch and sell them in small shops. After saying that, Wen Jiu thought about it again, and then continued, or give it to you in the form of welfare, such as buying snowflake crisps, and giving it away randomly. Whether you can eat it depends on luck. You can choose these two forms. Later, I will open a vote in the anchor's dynamic area. Whichever method has more people choose will be used. After explaining all of this, Wen Jiu closed the live broadcast. Sure enough, there is no easy job. Even being an anchor is very hard and stressful. Are you going to the training ground or to class with me? After the three of them finished cleaning up the kitchen, Wen Jiu looked at the time and saw that it was almost time for her cooking class. Let's go to practice. We'll try to surpass you by the end of the semester. Zikingai raised his chin proudly. He had already eaten tonight and was not afraid of Wen Jiu threatening him. Kaioshishi next to him also echoed, yes. We want to surpass you. Seeing that both of them were so motivated, Wen Jiu waved his hand and told them to hurry up and grab the practice room. Then she walked alone to the classroom for the cooking class. At this time, all the part-time students who came to class had arrived, just waiting for her to come and start the class. After seeing Wen Jiu walk in, every student was very friendly and greeted her with a little respect. Although some people were dissatisfied with window number 18 at the beginning, now Wen Jiu is doing his best to teach them how to cook, which has driven the customer flow and turnover of the entire cafeteria. So few people have complaints. Instead, they all call Wen Jiu teacher when in private, and are very impressed by her. Good evening, everyone. Wen Jiu greeted the audience, and she immediately glanced at the operating table at window 17. In addition to Anzioha and Sun Yea who always come, there is now another person, Sun Mio. As if he felt her gaze, Sun Mio just raised his head and smiled very stiffly. Today's third update has also been successfully delivered. I hope the little angels enjoy watching it. 030. Chapter 232. She's so weird. 1. If you want to say what Wen Jiu thinks of Sun Mio and Gore Green, it's just one word. Fake. She thinks that these two people are the kind of cold-blooded people who don't care about others, but they pretend to be normal people in order to integrate into the 3047 Academy. So it's very fake. And these two people are the kind of people who don't care about other people's feelings. Gore Green is better at pretending, just thinking that he has a bad temper. Maybe because Sun Mio is young, even if she tries her best to hide her fierceness and plays a role of a girl who works hard and is not conspicuous, it is difficult to hide her true appearance when fighting. Wen Jiu can't understand what the purpose of these two people is for the time being, and from the experience during this period, they seem to be trying to get close to her. Although she hasn't figured out their real purpose, she only knows that it is definitely right to stay away from these people. So Wen Jiu only responded to Sun Mio with a polite fake smile, and then began to talk about tonight's cooking class. Everyone has almost mastered the skill of making dumplings, so let's learn a new dish today. In fact, she really wanted to teach the students how to make kimchi. After all, this thing is really good with rice. Some of them like to sell fried rice with kimchi, so that the fried rice will taste better. However, the jars for making kimchi need to be customized. The college is probably not willing to spend this money specifically, and the students are even less likely to buy jars out of their own pockets, so this matter can only be put aside for the time being. When the turnover of the canteen increases a little more, there is still a chance to apply for customized jars. Today, I will teach you how to make hot and sour potato shreds. This dish is very suitable for selling with fried rice. Wen Jiu took 2 potatoes out of the food basket, and the students in the audience followed her to do it. Yes, peel the skin and wash it with clean water. She put the peeled potatoes into clean water, and after washing away the remaining potato skins, only 2 yellow potatoes were left. Now, start shredding the potatoes. Wen Jiu picked up the kitchen knife and slashed the potatoes into slices and shreds. The thin shredded potatoes instantly filled a plate. The students in the audience were all stunned after watching her operation. Seeing that everyone was staring at her with wide eyes, Wen Jiu smiled and took out a small tool from the bottom. This is a grater. If you are not good at knife skills, you can use this to shred potatoes. She also picked up another uncut potato to demonstrate the use of it. Look, the shredded potatoes are also thin and long. Of course, tools should be used. Wen Jiu found this grater when she applied for a larger refrigerator in the backstage a few days ago. If you meet the requirements, you can apply for a grater in the backstage app of the cafeteria, and I guess everyone should meet the requirements. After all, she has been teaching for so many days. The customer flow of the cafeteria has increased visibly. The windows that participated in the support plan have greatly increased their turnover, so it is not a problem to apply for a grater. But there are no extra graters to use right now, so everyone should try to cut the potato shreds by themselves. As soon as Wen Jiu finished speaking, the students moved obediently and began to practice cutting potato shreds. So she walked to the stage to instruct everyone one by one. Although everyone's knife skills were still very unfamiliar, there was no problem in cutting slices and shreds, but the thickness of the cut potato shreds was uneven. But there was an exception at one operating table. Sun Mio was staring at the potatoes in his hand intently, and Xiaohua and Sun Ye next to him had an inexplicable fear for some reason. The two of them silently moved away, fearing that Sun Mio would harm them with one cut. Sun Mio suddenly raised the kitchen knife and cut it down with a clang, giving the impression that the potatoes were her enemies. The way she cut the potato shreds was as if she was killing her enemy, and her whole body was full of hostility. She didn't put down the kitchen knife until Wen Jiu came over and then put the potato shreds she had cut into the plate. Well, each one is distinct and of uniform thickness. Wen Jiu picked up a potato with chopsticks and looked at it. You are good at cutting vegetables, classmate Sunday. Not only is his cutting skills good, she now suspects that Sun Mio has received some training. It's not that he trained specifically in cutting vegetables, but some specific training in practicing cold weapons. Wen Jiu observed the whole process of Sun Mio cutting potatoes just now. When she first picked up the kitchen knife, she was still a little unfamiliar and didn't even know how to hold the potato to slice it. But Sun Mio quickly learned her previous movements, but the way she held the kitchen knife was a little weird. She didn't seem to be learning to cut vegetables, but she seemed to be using a sharp knife to cut people. However, Wen Jiu did not express her doubts. She only commented in a gentle voice and asked Xiaohua to come over to practice cutting potato shreds. Yes, that's it. Wen Jiu patiently taught Xiaohua, pay attention to moving your hand back, don't cut your fingers. As she spoke, she observed Sun Mio calmly, but the other party had returned to his usual silent invisible man, completely different from the way he angrily killed potatoes just now. This thickness is fine. She couldn't find any other strange points about Sun Mio for the time being, so she could only pretend nothing had happened and move on to the next workbench. After all the students had cut the potato shreds, Wen Jiu carefully taught them how to make hot and sour potato shreds. She was busy until almost 11 o'clock, before announcing the end of the get out of class. See you tomorrow. After everyone had packed up their workbenches, they left the cooking classroom one after another. Wen Jiu stayed at the end to do some finishing work. Just as she was about to turn off the power, she suddenly saw Sun Mio, who had just left, return to the classroom. Student Sun, do you have anything else to do? She took the initiative to ask. Sun Mio just stood at the door and smiled stiffly. I'll wait for you to come out. Hearing her say this, Wen Jiu smiled and replied, okay, then wait for me outside. I'll just put these things in place. After she finished speaking, Sun Mio really retreated to the door. So when Jiu took the opportunity to pack up and clicked on the light screen panel and quickly sent a message to Kyoshi. If she hasn't returned to the dormitory by 12 o'clock, let Kyoshi inform you Rumen. The main reason is that she doesn't know what Sunmyo is going to do yet, and it feels a bit of an overreaction to go directly to you Rumen. After sending the message, when Jiu packed up her things for a while and then slowly walked out of the classroom. After she locked the door, Sunmyo came over and whispered, "Student Wen, I have some questions I want to ask you." Huh? What's the problem? When Jiu walked out slowly and Sunmyo followed her pace. A piece of jade that should have been carefully cut into a top-grade jade was maliciously thrown into a pile of stones and even covered with mud and hidden. Do you think this is right? The first update of the day has been delivered. Please check it. Little Angels. 030. Chapter 233. She's so weird too. It is not difficult to guess from Sunmyo's words that the jade she was talking about was referring to Wen Jiu. But Wen Jiu, the person involved, pretended to be stupid, although jade is cut out from stone. And why does jade have to be carved carefully? There are many naturally produced jades that are also beautiful. Hearing her words, Sunmyo frowned and retorted, "Jade is born to be carved carefully so that its value can be increased. What is the difference between worthless jade and worthless stone?" When Jiu smiled and lowered his head, "Then since uncarved jade is similar to ordinary stone, why do you have to go to the trouble of digging jade out of the pile of stones? And can you be sure that jade doesn't want to be an ordinary little stone?" After she finished speaking, Sunmyo fell silent. It was not until they walked to the girls' dormitory area one after another that Sunmyo suddenly spoke, "Student Wen, you know you are different, right?" The surroundings were quiet and late at night had already arrived. Only the bright yellow lights on the roadside shone down, just like the bright lights emitting a faint light in the darkness. "Maybe," Wen Jiu said lazily. "What if they are different? What if they are the same? If I say they are different, will 50 million star coins fall from the sky? Obviously not, so what does it matter if they are different?" As she finished speaking, a breeze blew by, blowing up her short platinum hair that covered her ears. Her pointed ears were now covered by earrings, so only a touch of silver light shone under the street lights. But when Jiu's two fangs were difficult to hide, and even when she didn't speak, she could still reveal a little bright white tip. Just as Sunmyo looked at her fangs and ears, she chuckled and said coldly, "No matter what you want to do by looking for me, I can only give you 8 words. Stay away from me. Take care of yourself." After saying this, Wen Jiu ignored Sunmyo who was standing there and walked straight towards the dormitory building. Watching her retreating figure, Sunmyo silently opened his light screen panel and inputted on it, "Apply for Plan B, Jiu, you are finally back." As soon as Wen Jiu entered the room, Kyoshi rushed over and hugged her. Then she pulled her up and down and scanned her before letting her go. "I was so worried." Kyoshi pulled Wen Jiu to sit down on the bed. "What does Sunmyo want to talk to you about?" Wen Jiu just shrugged and said, "Nothing. She is doing pyramid schemes and wants to pull me in as a downline." Huh? Kyoshi looked puzzled. "What?" Then I advised her to take care of herself. If she comes to me for pyramid schemes again, I will report her. Wen Jiu smiled and simply passed over the matter. Kyoshi only sighed and said, "Alas, I don't have much contact with Sunmyo because my class schedule is basically different from hers. But I have heard Zikingayu complain about her a few times. I used to think that Zikingayu was prejudiced against Sunmyo. I didn't expect that you can't judge a person by his appearance. She looks like a quiet, weak and quiet person." At this point, Kyoshi suddenly paused, as if she was recalling something. When Jiu saw that she was thinking, and did not interrupt her, but just sat quietly. After a while, Kyoshi said slowly, Jiu, remember that we took fighting classes with her before?" After hearing her words, when Jiu nodded while recalling, at that time, Sunmyo's opponent was Lee Mozan, and they chose the same gun to fight. "Yes, that's it." Kyoshi stood up with shining eyes. "I know why Zikingayu always felt that something was wrong with her. Because Sunmyo's fighting performance is not like that of an ordinary student who has just enrolled. She is more like someone who has participated in professional training, so she can use guns so skillfully, and can even fight with Zikingayu. After Kaioshishi finished speaking, she saw that Wen Jiu did not reply, and thought that the other party did not understand what she meant. So she continued to add, let alone other things, Zikingayu is really good in terms of talent. If Jiu, you are the first among our freshmen, then Zikingayu can definitely be ranked second. But I'm not bad either. I'm still better than him in physical skills. At this point, Kaioshishi did not forget to save her image, for fear that Wen Jiu would think Zikingayu is more powerful. And Zikingayu is the young master of the Z family. He received special combat and supernatural training before entering school, so it is reasonable that he is better than other students in these areas. And that Lee Mozen, I know his family background is also very good. Although he is not as good as Zikingayu, he also learned combat for a period of time before entering school. When Kaioshishi said this, Wen Jiu understood. Sun Mayo is not a person from a wealthy family. It can even be said that she comes from a poor family. She looks like Wen Jiu before, skinny and short due to lack of nutrition. But Wen Jiu knew how to fight, because when she was cultivating, before she crossed over, physical training was the most basic thing. She had to get up every morning to do morning exercises. Before, Zikingayu and Kaioshishi also asked why her fighting skills were better than Thiz. Wen Jiu only explained that it was because she often encountered bad guys when she was picking up garbage before, and she learned fighting skills by herself over a long period of time. But with Sun Mayo's family conditions, it was impossible for her to learn fighting and the use of supernatural powers before entering school. Unless she is the heroine of a novel, she picked up a ring with the soul of a master living in it to teach her. Kaioshishi pouted and whispered, it's not that Wen Jiu and the others were maliciously speculating about Sun Mayo. After all, these students get along with each other every day, and naturally know the family background of other classmates over a long period of time. Thinking of this, Wen Jiu added, she is more proficient in using guns than Lee Mozen. I thought she had been trained for a long time at the time, but I didn't think about it deeply. Now that you mention it like this, I think it's getting weirder and weirder. Wen Jiu slowly recalled everything that happened before, trying to find more clues. But she and Kaioshishi had little contact with Sun Mayo, so they couldn't think of more wrong things for a while. Let me ask Zikingayu. Wen Jiu opened the light screen panel. She knew that Zikingayu must be awake at this time, so she found her in the friend list and quickly sent a message. Sure enough, Zikingayu replied in a few seconds. Gull is the first in the star system. I used my connections to check when I was curious before. Sun Mayo's family conditions are indeed not good. She only studied in the children's home for a few years before dropping out. The children's home in the Federation is similar to the kindergarten and elementary school in the modern world. After turning 3 years old, you can enter the children's home to study. You will continue to study cultural courses until you graduate at the age of 12 and then enter a military academy like the 3047 Academy. However, there is only one public children's home on planet 3047, and you also need a local citizen's household registration to study for free. So the former illegal household Wen Jiu had no chance to enter at all and could only wander around and pick up garbage for a living. Today's second update. I spent so much time on this chapter cac. Chapter 234 She's So Weird 3. Hey, it's really strange. Kaioshishi was looking at the new message sent by Zikingayu. Sun Mayo is studying in a public free children's home. Why would she voluntarily drop out? After hearing her say this, Wen Jiu continued to look at the light screen panel. Gold star first, there is no trace of what happened after she dropped out of school. We only know that she suddenly appeared this year and came to 3047 Academy to study with us. Anyway, I think she is quite cruel. Don't tell me that you two want to be friends with her. Family Wealth 9. I have no plans to be friends with her at the moment. You can rest assured, son. Before Zikingayu could say something to refute his son's title, Wen Jiu quickly sent a new message. Family Wealth 9. By the way, you didn't check us all, did you? After she sent this message, Zikingayu replied after several minutes. Gold star first. This is called knowing yourself and the enemy, and you will never be defeated in 100 battles. He even investigated both of us. Kyoshi was so angry when she saw the message. Too much. Wealthy 9. What did the young master Z find out about me and Shishi? Goal is the first in the Interstellar. Good night. ZZZ. Seeing Z Kingayu's answer, Kyoshi didn't say anything and just sat there sullenly. Seeing her like this, Wen Jiu comforted her. Let's not bother with fools. And you know Z Kingayu's background. It's inevitable to be extra cautious when making friends. In fact, Kyoshi was not bothered about Z Kingayu secretly investigating people. She just didn't want others to know about her affairs. Thinking of this, Kyoshi just sighed. Forget it. Forget it. I won't bother with Z Kingayu, that fool, she said with a cheer. It's getting late. Let's wash up and go to bed. After seeing that she was really fine, Wen Jiu nodded and got up and walked to the bathroom. Ever since Wen Jiu had a friendly exchange with Sun Mio that night, the other party never came to her to say those inexplicable words. Even Gore Green returned to his former indifference, treating Wen Jiu and other students with a stinky face, as if he was owed money. Wen Jiu's life returned to peace, and she attended classes and worked hard every day. Because the end of the semester was approaching, she temporarily cancelled the evening student cooking class to leave everyone more time for tutoring and practice. At the same time, she also followed Z Kingayu and Kyoshi to tutor and practice in her free time, although she was always jointly complained by the other two that she was a bully. If there is only one interesting thing in such a dull life, it is that the handsome boy would come to Wen Jiu to chat every night. The other party only chatted for half an hour each time, sometimes asking Wen Jiu to tell him a bedtime story, and sometimes just chatting. Wen Jiu was quite defensive at first, but later she felt that the other party seemed to really just want to spend money to find someone to chat, so she began to let herself go. When she tells a story, she brings out the classic myths of China. When she chats, she brags wildly. No matter what she says, the other party will not refute her and even go along with her words. After chatting like this again and again, she feels that this way of chatting with strangers is quite stress relieving. Time passed day by day, and soon it was the night before the final exam. Help me, Gioji. Z Kingayu hugged Wen Jiu's arm with tears in her eyes. Why can't I tell the difference between this butterfly pea orchid and purple fragrant orchid? He regretted now, regretting why he chose to take the pharmacy course as an elective. Go away, Z Kingayu. Kyoshi stood by and pulled the corner of Z Kingayu's clothes hard. If you can't tell the difference, go to the library and make up for it. Give Jiu to me. The use of my superpowers is the most important. Although Kyoshi has long been able to use superpowers proficiently, she is still not very proficient in energy control. In simple terms, it only takes 30 points of energy for others to use a fireball. However, because she couldn't control the consumption of her abilities well, she had to spend twice as much energy every time to use the fireball technique. The better and more skilled she is in controlling her energy, the less energy she will consume when using her supernatural skills. Kyoshi, if you have time to beg Sister Jiu here, you might as well go find someone else to squeeze into the supernatural practice room and practice a few more times. Then why don't you go to the library to check the illustrations yourself? You didn't take the pharmacy class seriously, so is it useful to come here to cram for the exam now? The two of them were arguing with each other, and no one cared about Wen Jiu's feelings with a black face. I say, can't you two go to study and practice hard by yourselves? She shook off Z Kingayu, who was holding her arm, and shook her sleeves with disgust. No, Sister Jiu. The child can't live without you. Z Kingayu completely abandoned his little arrogant look, and at this time he was like a piece of sticky candy that couldn't be thrown away. Kyoshi next to him was not to be outdone. I can't live without you, Jiu. Let's go to the supernatural practice room. I've asked Mina to open the room. Looking at the two unlucky children, Wen Jiu sighed deeply. How about this? I'll go with you to the supernatural practice room to teach you energy control. As soon as she finished speaking, the water in Z Kingayu's eyes became brighter. Jiu, you can't be partial. I have been diligently washing dishes for you for so long. You can't do this. Wen Jiu directly covered his mouth with one hand. Go to the library and read the illustrations carefully, and I will come to teach you after I finish teaching Shishi. Let's go, let's go. Kyo Shishi, who won, pulled Wen Jiu and ran to the training ground, leaving Zikingayu dragging her figure to the library with grievance. But Wen Jiu did what he said. After teaching Kyo Shishi, she left the supernatural practice room and walked towards the library. Coincidentally, she met Sun Miro as soon as she walked out of the training ground. However, the other party only looked at her calmly for a few seconds and then looked away, with no intention of talking to her. Wen Jiu naturally would not take the initiative to approach her and just smiled. Wow, I thought you were not coming. She found Zikingayu in the library and the other party pulled her sleeve and started to play the victim again. Unfortunately, Wen Jiu didn't buy it. He covered his mouth with his hand again and whispered, "No loud noises are allowed in the library, understand? Look carefully at your illustrations. Let's communicate on the Star Network." Zikingayu had no choice but to nod and agree. While clicking on the herb illustrations, he opened his own light screen panel. Wen Jiu, who was sitting next to him, was not idle either. She rarely came to the library to study, so she directly found the metal material encyclopedia and started browsing. However, Zikingayu really had no talent in herbs, which made Wen Jiu doubt whether he was Ziziu's biological brother. He asked one question after another, so Wen Jiu had to answer seriously on the light screen panel. Today's third update. I hope the little angels like it. 030. Wen Jiu is finally going to take the final exam. The author wishes all the students who are also about to take the final exam good luck. Come on. Open bracket, closed bracket, closed bracket. Chapter 235. Sun Badao has a pair of children. 1. Before he knew it, it was 11 o'clock in the evening, and Zikingayu was still looking up various herbal illustrations. He really listened to the class carefully, but the herbal knowledge just couldn't get into his brain, and he was very desperate. What made him most desperate was not tomorrow's final exam, but the fact that he would have to take pharmacy in every final exam in the future. This is the rule of 3047 Academy. Which courses you choose in the first semester, you must continue to choose these courses in the new schedule of each semester. In other words, the selected courses can only increase and not decrease. Gold star first. Georgie, help me, how on earth do you remember so many herbal effects? Family wealth 9. I want to shout for help too. Why can't you remember? Could it be that your brother has absorbed all the talent in this area? Wen Jiu held her forehead and sat in her seat. After she sent the message, she turned her head and looked at Zikingayu, and then they both sighed deeply. Gold star first. Do you think that if I drink a bottle of refreshing potion before the exam, can it save my pharmacy grades? 9. I don't know if I can save your grades, but I know you will definitely be caught and publicly executed on the podium. Wen Jiu was speechless when she saw what Zikingayu said. She didn't know what this person was thinking. She actually started to think of playing tricks to get grades. She was about to complain a few more times when she saw a new message coming in, and the little red dot was jumping there non-stop. She cut over and saw that it was indeed that handsome boy again. Before she clicked in to view the detailed message, she received a payment pop-up window from the other party. Good evening, Mr. Sun. It was still the familiar opening remarks, but this time it comforted Wen Jiu's mood of being speechless to the extreme by Zikingayu. 9. Good evening, Mr. Lu. I may not be able to send you a bedtime story tonight. As soon as she sent this message to the other party, she saw the red dot on Zikingayu's side jumping wildly. Wen Jiu is now very regretful, regretting why she was so careless to accompany Zikingayu for tutoring. If she didn't have tutoring, she could have gone back to the dormitory long ago. Not only could she set up a stall for an hour in the Star Network world, she could also earn half an hour's chat fee from the handsome boy. Anything she could do would be better than tutoring here for free. Fortunately, the handsome boy is very reasonable, completely different from his cold appearance. Yan, okay, Yan, but has Mr. Sun encountered any problems recently? I heard from Mingayu that you don't seem to have been online. to set up a stall during this period. Meng Guiu was stretching his neck to look at Lu Yan's light screen panel, but the other party turned on the privacy shielding function after sending the message, so he could only see a white mosaic. Finding that he couldn't peek, Meng Guiu leaned back in his seat dejectedly. He had planned to take a good rest these days, but he was suddenly notified to participate in this mission. So he appeared on this interstellar spaceship and was forced to bear Lu Yan's cold interrogation of him. The other party first asked about the time when Sun Badao would be online and set up a stall, and then asked him what other news he knew about Sun Badao. The cold breath, when Lu Yan was interrogating him, almost made his heart stop. Now that the atmosphere finally eased, Meng Guiu asked curiously, "Brother Lu, why do you suddenly care about Master Sun?" He paused for a moment after saying this, and then began to shout frantically in his heart what nonsense he was talking about. How could Lu Yan care about Sun Badao? His brother Lu must be secretly investigating Sun Badao, so he was so curious about his whereabouts. "Hey brother Lu, I think Master Sun is actually a good person." Seeing Lu Yan staring at the light screen panel motionlessly again, Meng Guiu continued to talk about his thoughts. "I think the only shortcoming of Master Sun is greed for money, but he has never cheated anyone. The mosquito repellent and insect repellent amulet he sold to me is very useful. And that amulet, amulet." Speaking of this, Meng Guiu suddenly felt as if he had forgotten something. He only vaguely remembered that Sun Badao's amulet seemed to have saved his life, but he couldn't remember how the amulet did it. Just as he was about to continue recalling, a service staff suddenly rang the doorbell to request entry into the cabin. "Come in." Meng Guiu looked at the door, and the service staff came in respectfully, put the tray on the table, and left. "Hey, it's time for my favorite midnight snack again." He opened the lid and saw a large plate of barbecued meat with good appearance and fragrant aroma. The rich meaty aroma instantly aroused Meng Guiu's greed. He picked up the chopsticks and was about to pick up a piece of meat to taste when he saw Lu Yan frowning and emitting a cold breath. He was so scared that he immediately offered the chopsticks with both hands and said, "Brother Lu, you eat first." However, the other party only glanced at him and said in a tone without any fluctuation, "No, thank you." Hearing this, Meng Guiu decisively put his mind at ease and began to eat heartily, but he still didn't forget to gossip and secretly paid attention to Lu Yan's movements while eating. After a while, he felt a little greasy after eating more than half of the barbecue, so he picked up the juice box and drank it. Meng Guiu was drinking happily when he heard Lu Yan's cold voice. "Meng Guiu, is it difficult to take care of children?" Ahem. The sudden strange question made Meng Guiu cough violently. After he calmed down for a few seconds, he approached Lu Yan with a puzzled look. "I saw that the other party's light screen panel had turned off the privacy shielding function, and it showed several messages from Sun Badao. 9. Sorry, I was busy just now. I didn't encounter any problems. I didn't have time to set up a stall online, because I was too busy in reality recently. 9. What else can I be busy with? I'm busy teaching my unfilial children to study and learn. One by one, I don't worry about it. 9. I'm a virgin, and those are my adopted children. The 2 children can eat and make. It's almost the final exam, and I have to tutor them. 9. Let's not talk about it, Mr. Lu. The kids will have their final exams tomorrow, and I have to go and give them some tutoring. If you want to refund the chat fee for tonight, you can leave a message, and I will refund it to you later when I'm free." After reading these messages, Meng Guiu felt shocked. First of all, he was shocked that Sun Badao actually had a son and a daughter, and secondly, he was actually still a virgin. Now he was more convinced of Sun Badao. He had heard before that people who engage in metaphysics cannot break the rules, and not only must they maintain their virginity, but also must be vegetarians all year round. I didn't expect that Sun Badao is still a virgin at this age. He is really a big shot who devotes himself to studying metaphysics. Today's first update. Hehe, please check it out, little angels. 030. You can all join the reader group. The little author will give out red envelopes and draw gifts in the group during the Chinese New Year CAC group. 810,926,207. Chapter 236. Sun Badao has a pair of children too. Who would have thought that Sun Badao, the master of metaphysics, was worried about taking care of his children? Xiao Qingyu, you can really donate your unnecessary eyes. Wen Jiu looked at the aggrieved Xiao Qingyu with a frown. She had been teaching Xiao Qingyu to recognize herbs for a long time, but she still made a mess of mistakes after finishing the exercises. Originally, loud noises were not allowed in the library, but perhaps because the final exams were coming tomorrow, many students began to communicate in a low voice. Some were discussing the time and arrangement of tomorrow's exam, and some were sharing their review experiences. So when Jiu and Xiao Qingyu also closed the light curtain panel, moved closer and started to talk in a low voice. Look at what you answered yourself. She pointed to the exercises on the electronic panel, wishing she could knock Xiao Qingyu's head open to see if it was empty. The library not only has various illustrations and materials to consult, but also allows you to do exercises and self-tests here. At this time, on the electronic panel in front of Qingyu, the set of exercises he did only scored 16 points, and the entire panel was occupied by red crosses. I don't know why this happened. I studied hard. Qingyu's voice became smaller and smaller as time went on, and he looked aggrieved and helpless. Even more helpless than him was Wen Jiu. I said this just now. The color of foxtail flowers is orange with a reddish tint, and the color of coxcomb is pure red. And the shape of foxtail flowers is more slender, just like a real foxtail that is slightly curled. Coxcomb is more wavy, and overall it is shorter than foxtail flowers. Such a simple herb identification question. How can you still get it wrong? She was really speechless. She had been sitting here with Qingyu for several hours, but there was no effect at all. Sister Jiu, do you think I really don't have any talent for learning potions? Qingyu lay on the table with her head down. Maybe my brother has all the talent in this area, otherwise why can't I learn it, no matter how hard I try? Wen Jiu didn't have anything to say about this. After all, the final exam was tomorrow, and she felt it was not appropriate to hit the other party again. Look at it more positively. There is a saying that, when God closes a door for you, he will definitely open a window for you. She patted Qingyu's shoulder kindly to comfort him. As a result, he only heard him ask in confusion, why did God close my door and open my window? And who is God? Okay, it seems that Qingyu really has no religious beliefs at all. It is also possible that the previous religious beliefs have not been preserved. So when Jiu just whispered, oh, who cares who he is? Anyway, I'm telling you not to be discouraged. You're not very smart in pharmacy, but you must be talented in other areas. Of course, Qingyu, am not A+ in any aspect. He became confident when he said this. It seems that pharmacy is the biggest obstacle for me to become a genius. I must work hard to overcome it. As he said that, he clicked on a new exercise and prepared to start doing the questions, but things went against his wishes. The library administrator picked up the microphone and started broadcasting to the whole library. It's 12 o'clock. Our library is about to close. Everyone hurry back to the dormitory to sleep and stay in good condition for the exam tomorrow. After the administrator's voice fell, all the students were forced to leave the library. Qingyu walked out next to Wen Jiu, and the word finished was written all over his face. Alas, goodbye, Sister Jiu. After walking side by side for a while, Qingyu said goodbye to Wen Jiu dejectedly, because the boys' dormitory where he lived was on the other side. When Wen Jiu returned to the dormitory, Kyoshi had already finished washing up. The closing time of the training ground was earlier, so she came back earlier than Wen Jiu. It was already past 12 o'clock. After chatting for a while, Kyoshi went to bed first, and Wen Jiu quickly washed up and got into bed. After all, she had to face the exam early tomorrow morning, and she didn't want to stay up late. And because she was particularly tired today, she fell asleep quickly. However, somewhere Wen Jiu didn't know, someone was suffering from insomnia because of her disappearance. Brother Lu, aren't you going to rest yet? Mengyu lay on his bench. He put the chair down to the lowest position and successfully served as a single bed. It would take more than 10 hours to reach the planet where they were carrying out their mission this time. Although they were still in interstellar travel, they should have rested long ago according to their usual biological clock. Ever since Sun Badao went offline, after sending those messages, Lu Yan had been sitting there quietly, exuding an aura of keeping strangers away. Ming Yu shivered for a long time. Although he knew that Lu Yan was only cold on the outside, he still couldn't resist the other party's sudden and intensified cold aura. Fortunately, Lu Yan seemed to notice his reaction. Not long after, he restrained his emotions and returned to his expressionless and indifferent appearance. You go to sleep first. Seeing that Ming Yu was always looking at him, Lu Yan pinched his eyebrows and breathed a sigh of relief. After getting the answer, Ming Yu turned off the light above his head, put on an eye mask, covered himself with a thin blanket, and began to sleep. Seeing this, Lu Yan silently lowered the brightness of the light above his head and lowered the brightness of the light curtain panel to the lowest. Except when he was unable to maintain a standard schedule when performing tasks, his schedule was actually very regular. But Lu Yan was a little insomniac at this time. To be honest, he felt that he was childish and felt lost because the other party didn't say goodnight to him. It is said that people will develop a habit if they do something for a long time. He communicates with Sun Badao like this every day, and he has developed a small habit of saying goodnight to him. But Sun Badao has not been online tonight. It seems that he is really busy tutoring his children. He did not have any other thoughts about Sun Badao, but it was rare to meet someone who was willing to chat with someone like him who was not good at communication for a long time. Even someone like Ming Yu who talks a lot, it is actually difficult to communicate with him for a long time. And although Ming Yu wanted to be Lu Yan's friend, there were all kinds of family issues behind them, and there were too many factors involved. What's more, those people would not allow him to have a friend like Ming Yu, so he could only keep his distance and not give the other party too much response, so as not to cause too much trouble to him. So Lu Yan did not want to lose such a rare person who could communicate with him. But now it was late, and he estimated that the other party should not appear again tonight. So he thought for a long time and used his slender fingers to carefully input the last message of the night on the light screen panel. Good night. I wish your children good luck in their exams. Today's second update has also been delivered 0:30. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 First Semester Final Exam 1. The next morning, when Jiu woke up feeling refreshed, Kyoshi seemed to be particularly nervous because of the final exam, so she woke up more than an hour earlier than the original alarm. When Jiu got up and washed, she was browsing the various notes she had taken during class on the light screen panel. Well, Shishi, did you not sleep well last night? When Jiu tied her combed hair behind her head with a rubber band. Because her hair was only a little below her collarbone, it looked like a small tail after being tied, which looked very playful. A little. Kyoshi rubbed her eyes and turned off her light screen panel. When Jiu saw that her eyes were dark blue, so he went forward and massaged the acupuncture points on her head. Kyoshi had seen his massage skills before, but she didn't expect that massaging the head could be so comfortable, so she closed her eyes unconsciously. A few minutes later, when she opened her eyes again, she felt that her sleepiness had dissipated, and there was a feeling of being 100 times more energetic, and the fatigue all over the body disappeared. Thank you Jiu Kyoshi finally showed her previous relaxed and lovely smile. Since entering the countdown stage of the final exam, her worries have become heavier and heavier, and her face has been revealing fatigue and anxiety all the time. You're welcome. Let's quickly get a nutrient solution and go to the examination room. When Jiu patted her shoulder and then took out a nutrient solution that Zhu Wanming gave him from the box, the two walked all the way to the training ground. The exams of 3047 Academy have always been separated for each grade, so the final exams for their first year students were held in these 3 days. However, they usually finish the exams and have a holiday in the afternoon of the third day, so the time for the final exam is not too long. Wen Jiu's first exam today is real-life combat, and the students who were notified came to the combat stage outside the examination room early. Kyoshish's first exam is the use of superpowers, so after entering the training ground, she went to another direction to find the examination room. Students, please cooperate with our inspection. The teachers guarding outside the examination room searched the students one by one and used special instruments to detect whether they had used any banned drugs. After completing a series of inspections, Wen Jiu successfully entered the examination room. The huge fighting stage had been prepared with protective measures in advance, and several teachers were guarding below to supervise. An observation and scoring platform was set up about 5 meters away, and Yu Ruman was sitting there waiting with 4 other teachers. Not far away from them was a small light curtain with the words "Candidate Waiting Area" written on it. So when Jiu walked over there quickly, and after a second identity verification report from the registration teacher, he stood in the queue of students. There were more than 300 students in their group, who were the first to take the fighting exam. In addition to the 2-person battle test, they also had to take the parts identification and firearms assembly test. When Jiu stood quietly in the queue waiting for the exam to begin. Because no metal objects were allowed to be brought to the exam, she left the earrings in the dormitory and did not wear them. In addition, she tied her hair up and her long pointed ears were exposed. Although the news of her appearance change had already spread throughout the academy, many students had never seen it with their own eyes. So at this moment, many students in the queue cast curious glances at her quietly, but when Jiu just stood there calmly, her only thought was that she should wear a badge. Then write on it that it only costs 500 star coins to take a photo with the rare creature Wen Jiu. Alas, this free exhibition really made her lose too much. Fortunately, all the candidates arrived soon, so a teacher began to loudly announce the rules of the exam. Please strictly abide by the rules for candidates. If there is any violation, the results of this exam will be cancelled, and you will be punished according to the actual situation. The list of candidates participating in the first round of parts identification and firearms assembly will be announced on the light curtain. After the teacher's voice fell, Wen Jiu followed the others to look at the light curtain next to him. The light curtain suddenly grew from small to large and then began to display the list of candidates who were about to take the exam. At the same time, a mechanical and cold voice announced the names on the list. Candidates whose names are called, please come over here and line up in 2 teams. When Jiu heard her name a few seconds ago, so she decisively walked to the front and lined up. Coincidentally, the person next to her happened to be Sun Mao. However, she did not mean to greet him and did not even look at him. Therefore, Sun Mao only moved his lips, but did not say anything in the end. The students in the right column will go up to the stage to take the exam first. The teacher led the students in Sun Mao's column to the side of the stage. Before they reached the stage, they saw a long shadow table appearing on the originally empty fighting stage. Go up and find a good position according to the order of queuing. This time, the parts identification and gun assembly are intelligent real-time scoring, so don't think about doing anything tricky. After the teacher finished his speech, he asked the students to go up to the stage to find a position and wait for the exam to begin. None of them dared to wander around, so they soon filled up the shadow tables on the fighting stage. Everyone, take your positions. The parts identification and gun assembly test will begin in 1 minute. As soon as the teacher finished speaking, the virtual table on the stage gradually began to solidify. At the same time, a 1-minute countdown appeared on the light screen below the stage. When Jiu estimated that there should be a countdown on the virtual table on the stage. At the moment when the time on the light screen returned to 0, the virtual table on the stage completely solidified, and many gun parts appeared on the table. However, from her side, she could only glimpse a few protruding parts, and could not see everything on the table clearly. After a whistle sounded, the students on the stage took action one after another, and began to pick up the parts on the top, to identify and try to assemble. The students below the stage watched carefully, hoping to find some experience to learn from it. When Jiu also looked at the stage intently, but she soon discovered that the test questions these students got were different. The parts they picked up first were different, and the assembly process was also different. It's a different question. I was thinking about whether I could peek next door. The two people in front of her began to whisper to each other while the teacher was on the observation platform. Oh my god, look at the second row. The leftmost one has such fast hands. Wen Jiu looked in the direction they said and saw Sun Mio staring at the table, picking up parts with both hands to assemble. After a few seconds, a fully assembled sniper rifle appeared in her hand. Candidate Sun Mio has completed the test in 21 seconds. 100 points for accuracy, 100 points for speed, and 100 points for comprehensive calculation. Today's third update has been successfully delivered. Please check it, my lovely little angels. If you agree, please remember to vote for me please. Please 030. Chapter 238 First Semester Final Exam 2. 21 seconds. That's too fast. So impressive. It took me more than 21 seconds to identify the parts. The students waiting for the exam couldn't help but whisper, but after all, it was during the exam, so the teacher quickly stopped them from whispering. Be quiet. Don't disturb other students taking the exam. Wen Jiu just looked at the stage quietly, wondering how long Sun Mio had trained to reach this level. She had previously trained with Zikingayu in parts identification and firearms assembly, but Zikingayu's fastest speed was only 28 seconds. According to Zikingayu himself, he had been practicing fighting and supernatural powers for almost 2 years, and the teachers he hired were all retired soldiers from the military region. He would train seriously for a long time every day after returning home from the children's home, so he could reach an excellent level before entering school. Although Wen Jiu was a strange exception, Sun Mio couldn't be the same exception, right? And what puzzled her the most was that Sun Mio disappeared for several years after dropping out of the children's home and only reappeared when the 3047 Academy was recruiting students this year. So where did the other party go during these years? Just as Wen Jiu was thinking quietly, Sun Mio put down the sniper rifle in her hand, raised her chin slightly, and stood on the stage with a slightly provocative look to look at Wen Jiu in the audience. Taking advantage of the moment when the teacher didn't notice, she moved her lips and then showed a faint smile. It was only a short moment, but Sun Mio's lip shape was very clear. See you in the fight. Wen Jiu looked at the stage with a very calm look, without any emotion, but she had a sense of excitement in her heart. Fight? It seemed that she hadn't had a good fight for a long time. After a few minutes, when the prompt whistle sounded, all the students on the stage, whether they had finished assembling or not, put down their things in unison. The first group of students has completed the assessment, and your results have been displayed on the light curtain. After leaving the stage, please go to the light curtain in an orderly manner to check your results. After the teacher finished speaking, he let the students on the stage walk down. The virtual table, which was originally solid, became illusory again. At this time, another teacher came out and directed Wen Jiu's students to march towards the fighting stage. Wen Jiu walked up the steps slowly and then found his position according to the order of going on stage. The virtual table in front of him was like a three-dimensional electronic phantom, sometimes clear and sometimes blurry. Everyone, take your positions. The test of parts identification and firearms assembly will begin in 1 minute. Please be prepared. As the teacher's voice fell, a red digital countdown appeared in the upper left corner of the virtual table. 1 o'clock. Wen Jiu stood in front of the virtual table very calmly. When the countdown reached 0, the virtual table finally solidified and showed the test questions. W34 assault rifle. She glanced at the various parts on the table, and her hands began to fly continuously. Before the teachers and students in the audience could react, a mechanical broadcast suddenly sounded. Candidate Wen Jiu has completed the test in 19 seconds. 100 points for accuracy, 100 points for speed, and 100 points for comprehensive calculation. After the announcement, everyone in the audience was silent. The students on the stage were also shocked for a moment, but they quickly continued to look for parts. After a while, a slight discussion came from the observation and scoring desk. This student is not bad. His name is Wen Jiu, right? Blue White looked at Wen Jiu on the stage with interest. He was playing with a string of crystal clear jade beads in his hand. Yes, Mr. White. Lu Zuang replied with a smile. Not bad. I think her proficiency and hand speed are higher than Sun Mao. Blue White looked at the electronic panel in front of him. Then he put down the jade beads and began to look through Wen Jiu's information. But the interest on his face soon dissipated a lot. He frowned slightly and asked, she is a rare dual system psychic, but why is her comprehensive evaluation value only B? She. Wen Jiu has been wandering outside since he was a child, so his physical foundation is very poor. Yu Rumen glanced at Lu Zuang, who was about to speak, and continued with a smile. This resulted in her physical fitness and potential in all aspects being not high, especially in terms of physical fitness. Lu Zuang, who was interrupted by the conversation, did not show any dissatisfaction, but smiled even more. Blue White looked at Wen Jiu on the stage, and then at the information in front of him, and his knuckles began to tap the table regularly. People who are familiar with him know that this is a manifestation of his irritability. So Lu Zuang said in a gentle voice, it doesn't matter if his physical condition is low. I believe that with Dr. Zhu's ability, he can fully restore Wen Jiu's body. Do you think Dr. Zhu hasn't tried? Yu Rumen glanced at her with cold eyes. Drive Zhu has customized nutrient solution for Wen Jiu for several months, but the results of the latest review are still okay. Blue White frowned and interrupted her. Ask Dr. Zhu to send me Wen Jiu's report during this period later, Blue White said, while sliding the electronic panel on the table. If it doesn't work, report Sun Mao and these two together. Lu Zuang was sitting on his right, so she saw the other two candidates mentioned by the other party at a glance. But she still reminded him in a gentle voice, Mr. White, this Ziking guy is the young master of the Z family. I'm afraid his family will not agree. Hearing her words, Bruce White just sneered. The Z family is just a branch that escaped. Report it. This is a blessing given to him by the higher-ups. After he finished speaking, he looked at Yu Rumen on the left, with some unknown emotions in his eyes and said, College 3047 hasn't had any seedlings for several years. I believe Miss Yu will persuade Dean Huang, right? Yu Rumen just lowered her eyes, looking more charming and attractive. Mr. White, don't worry. Seeing Yu Rumen like this, Lu Zuang's eyes revealed a hint of disdain. But she quickly regained her gentle and submissive look. Then this matter will be handed over to Teacher Yu. These seedlings are quite important. Seeing the sparks between the two of them about to explode, Blue White just smiled and said, okay, let's see if there are other suitable seedlings. But it's a pity. I heard that most of these students were lost in the Dianai forest. Otherwise, according to the information originally submitted, the 3047 Academy should have been able to submit more seedlings than other academies. He talked to himself until the teacher in charge of supervision announced that the students in Wen Jiu's group had finished the exam. He stopped talking and quietly stared at the thin figure walking down the stage. After a moment, Blue White chuckled and asked, what do you think is Wen Jiu's chance of winning against Sun Mao? Today's first update. I hope the little angels enjoy reading. 030. Chapter 239 First Semester Final Exam 3. The two protagonists who were being discussed stood quietly in the audience. They did not look at the results on the light screen panel. After all, they were both the first in the group, and their results had already been intelligently broadcasted by the system, so there was no need to check them again. After the second round of students finished the parts identification and gun assembly exams, the teacher came to continue to announce the rules of the real-life battle exam. The next step is the real-life battle assessment. The system will randomly assign the students into groups of 2. After entering the arena, you can use the weapons on the fighting stage or your own supernatural skills. After entering the arena, pay attention to the prompt sound on the field. The battle can begin after the prompt sound. You cannot admit defeat after the battle begins. Once you admit defeat, you will be recorded as 0 points. The first person to reduce the opponent's armor value to 0 will win. After the armor value is reduced to 0, both sides cannot continue to attack. Otherwise, it will be regarded as a violation and will be treated as 0 points and will be punished accordingly according to the actual situation. The teacher read out the rules seriously and made sure that every student had heard it clearly before he signaled another teacher to operate. The screen that originally recorded the previous results began to change, and then slowly displayed the list of the next battle groups. Group 3, Candidate Sun Mayo vs Candidate Wen Jiu. Wen Jiu looked at the display on the screen without any surprise. From Sun Mayo's provocation to her on the stage before, she could guess that the other party must have done something to ensure that he could fight against her. But it doesn't matter, it's just a fight. If you have the guts, come and cripple her and make her ask for hundreds of millions of star coins as medical expenses. Those who have seen the list, go back and line up and come and prepare when your group and name are called next. The first two groups of students who came on stage finished the battle quickly, but they only used weapons to fight and did not use their own abilities to fight. TSK, these kids are not ruthless enough. Blue White shook his head in dissatisfaction. I see that these 4 students have activated their superpowers. Why don't they use them? Because we haven't taught first year students to use superpowers to fight. Lu Zuang replied hurriedly, but I think this rule can be changed. First year students in the future should also learn to use superpowers to fight. It's too late to wait until the second year to learn. As far as I know, other colleges have started learning from the first year. As soon as she finished speaking, Yu Ruman retorted coldly, each college has its own rules. Teacher Lu has been here for less than a semester. Are you so eager to overturn the old college rules? Teacher Yu, you blame me wrongly. I just heard a saying that you can't make progress without making changes. Lu Zuang leaned forward slightly, turned her head, and looked at Yu Ruman with a smile. Heh. Yu Ruman sneered coldly and said nothing more. Seeing that she seemed to be no match for her, Lu Zuang continued, Teacher Yu, don't blame me for speaking bluntly. I just say whatever comes to my mind. If you know you speak bluntly, just say less. Blue White had been sitting and listening to their sarcastic conversation, but he suddenly spoke up and choked Lu Zuang. This action caused Yu Ruman to glance over in confusion. Just as she was about to say something, she saw Blue White looking at her with a frivolous look. I have always been uncomfortable with beautiful women being wronged, especially those with both charm and strength like you. After saying this, he raised his eyebrows, thinking that he was very attractive. Mr. White is really good at joking. Yu Ruman responded perfunctorily, and after she finished speaking, she moved 2 inches away without making a sound. Fortunately, it was soon Sun Mayo and Wen Jiu's turn to go on stage, successfully diverting Blue White's attention. Please invite Sun Mayo and Wen Jiu, candidates from the third group, to enter the venue. The mechanical and cold announcement sounded, and Wen Jiu and Sun Mayo walked forward together. Because this is the final exam, in order to ensure the safety of the students, the college specially took out a protective bracelet for them to use. The appearance of the protective bracelet is similar to that of an ordinary watch. Just tie it tightly on your wrist and press the button, and a layer of armor like a phantom will cover the user's entire body. However, this layer of armor can only withstand a certain amount of damage. Once the value that the armor can withstand is exceeded, the armor will lose its protective function and shatter. Before the armor shatters, a red light alarm will flash, which means that the armor value will return to 0 and will be damaged. However, the cost of the protective bracelet is not cheap, so the 3047 Academy will only take it out for students to use during the final exam and other major exams. In addition, the protective bracelet that the Academy can take out for students is not the most advanced in the Federation, so the available armor value is not high. If you encounter a second level interstellar alien beast in the wild, the opponent can break the armor of this protective bracelet with one move. Therefore, the Academy did not equip students with protective bracelets during field training, but with the serious damage caused by the Dianai Forest incident, the top management of the 3047 Academy has been thinking of ways to equip more advanced protective equipment. Put this on, and then press the blue button on the side to activate the armor. The teacher handed 2 protective wristbands to Wen Jiu and Sun Mayo respectively. They quickly put on the protective wristbands according to the teacher's instructions, and pressed the blue button on the side. Wen Jiu only felt like she was wrapped in an invisible rain mist, and she was a little wet and sticky from head to toe. This feeling made her a little uncomfortable, but she glanced at Sun Mayo next to her, who stood there with a calm face, as if he had long been accustomed to this strange feeling. Okay, you go on stage from the left. Seeing that they had put on the protective wristbands, the teacher instructed the two of them to go on stage to prepare for the battle. Wen Jiu slowly stepped onto the steps and walked to the center of the fighting stage, shaking hands with Sun Mayo in a friendly manner according to the regulations. But Sun Mayo took the opportunity of bowing his head and whispered, "Student Wen, I'm looking forward to your performance. I'm also looking forward to your performance." Although Wen Jiu had a smile on his face, his eyes were cold. After the handshake ceremony, they walked to the far left and right of the fighting stage according to the regulations. Seeing a rack with various weapons standing there, Wen Jiu seriously thought about what weapon she should choose for the battle. She quickly browsed through the weapon rack and finally chose the rope body that she had not used for a long time. Candidate Wen Jiu has chosen the Queen's Golden Whip as a weapon. Candidate Sun Mayo has chosen the 76 rupees black pistol as a weapon. The weapon rack is about to be removed. The official battle will begin in 1 minute. Please prepare for the battle. Today's second update has been delivered. Please check it out. Little Angels. 030. Chapter 240. Are you crazy? 1. As the announcement of the start of the battle sounded, Sun Mayo raised her pistol and fired bullets at Wen Jiu's position. Fortunately, Wen Jiu had anticipated her move and dodged the bullet quickly. Then she rushed to the center of the fighting arena, turned her wrist, and aimed a whip at Sun Mayo. It fell with a snap. The place where Sun Mayo had been standing before was hit by the whip and a crack appeared. She had known that Wen Jiu was good at close combat, so she specially chose the gun she was best at as a weapon. But she didn't expect Wen Jiu to choose a whip as a weapon, and it seemed that he was very skilled in using it. "Mr. Wen, you are more interesting than I thought." After saying this, Sun Mayo raised her pistol again, predicting Wen Jiu's actions and firing bullets quickly. She fired 3 bullets at once, and they were all stuck in the position where Wen Jiu wanted to move. No matter how the opponent dodges, he will be hit by a bullet. Seeing this, Wen Jiu could only grit his teeth and flip to the left to take the damage of the bullet. But she quickly seized the moment when Sun Mayo stopped to watch her being shot and swung a whip horizontally at him. The horizontal whip caught Sun Mayo off guard and instantly reduced her armor value to 75 points. Wen Jiu also lost 25 points of armor value when he was shot, so their armor values became the same again. Just when Sun Mayo wanted to run farther away, Wen Jiu swung the whip and hit her again. Wen Jiu's wrist flipped back and forth, and the tail of the whip immediately wrapped around Sun Mayo's right arm. After tightening it, she stood firm and pulled back, causing Sun Mayo to fall directly to the ground. Snap. After Sun Mayo was dragged to the ground, her pistol also fell not far away. Wen Jiu retracted the whip with a slight movement of her wrist. She slowly approached Sun Mayo and whipped him without blinking, directly hitting Sun Mayo's armor value to a dangerous value of 15 points. Just when everyone thought that Wen Jiu was about to win, Sun Mayo suddenly sent out a green light to hit Wen Jiu, instantly reducing Wen Jiu's armor value to only 10 points. "Wow, you're using supernatural skills." Blue White's eyes were stained with excitement, and the smile on his face became more intense. Lu Zuiying smiled slightly. After all, classmate Sun Mayo has a good talent. It's normal for him to comprehend it on his own. However, Yu Ruman was not in the mood to talk at this time. She just clenched her fists secretly and looked at the stage. Sun Mayo's sudden supernatural attack stunned the students in the audience. The most important thing was that she successfully pulled down Wen Jiu's advantage with this move. "Classmate Wen, why don't you throw away your whip and let's fight with supernatural powers?" Sun Mayo stood up and took a breath. The light in her eyes became brighter and brighter, as if she could only be her true self when fighting. At this time, Sun Mayo did not feel weak at all, but made people feel that she was extremely dangerous. Hearing her words, Wen Jiu chuckled and said, "You've lost your weapon and you're here to talk to me about throwing it away. Do you think I'm crazy?" The moment she finished her words, she flicked her wrist and swung the whip in her hand towards Sun Mayo. Sun Mayo quickly bent down to avoid it, and then looked at Wen Jiu with contempt. A green light quickly appeared in her hand, and in a moment, she saw a long whip made of vines being firmly grasped by her. Seeing this, Wen Jiu felt that the excitement in her heart became stronger and stronger. Come on. She swung the whip at Sun Mayo again, and the other party swung the whip out in the same way. Just when the golden whip was about to touch the vine whip, a blazing flame ignited on the originally golden long whip. The orange-red flame was extremely hot and directly ignited the long whip made of vines. The flames shot up, and Sun Mayo decisively threw away the whip in her hand, but she turned over and picked up the pistol that had been knocked away before and shot directly at Wen Jiu. Wen Jiu could not dodge and could only turn sideways as much as possible. 2 bullets flew past her waist and cheek. The armor value dropped to the last 5 points. The protective bracelet on her arm flashed a dazzling red light, but she still adjusted her position calmly and continued to fight with Sun Mayo. It seems that Wen Jiu is good at using her special powers. Blue White held his chin with one hand. I think if we take good care of her, she can be sent to be a seedling. Hearing this, Lu Zuiying smiled and said, that depends on whether teacher you can raise her well. After all, Wen Jiu is now her nominal daughter. Hearing this, Blue White narrowed his eyes and stared at Yu Ruman. Oh, you didn't tell me about this important matter? I submitted a mission report. Yu Ruman answered calmly. I only carried it out after the higher-ups agreed. After she finished speaking, Blue White looked at her with a little suspicion for several seconds, and then said, in that case, then you should do as the higher-ups say. Let's watch the battle first. I guess Sun Mayo will win soon. At this time on the stage, Wen Jiu only had 5 points of armor left, but Sun Mayo still had 15 points of armor. The two kept using weapons to fight back and forth, but the final result was still not decided. Wen Jiu's whip range is much shorter than the bullet range, so she has to close the distance to use the golden whip. But Sun Mayo's current position and body movements are quite flexible, leaving her no chance to close the distance. The only way is to attack with supernatural powers. Bang, bang, bang. Sun Mayo fired bullets again, but her magazine was empty, so she could only continue to move farther to reload bullets. So Wen Jiu took this opportunity to sprint forward, pretending to use the golden whip to attack. Seeing this, Sun Mayo did predict the action of dodging the golden whip. However, it was not the golden whip that attacked her, but a blazing orange-red fireball. The moment the fireball hit her, the only 15 points of armor value instantly returned to 0. It seems that Sun Mayo is still not good enough. Lu Zuiying lowered her head with regret, and no one saw the smile on her lips. Just when everyone thought that the battle was over and the result was to be announced, something unexpected happened. After Sun Mayo's armor value returned to 0, Wen Jiu followed the rules and did not continue to attack. She just turned around and took a few steps, and then she heard a sound of breaking through the air. She quickly turned sideways to avoid it, but the bullet still cut her left arm holding the golden whip. The remaining 5 points of armor value were completely unable to resist this damage. The glaring blood seeped out from the light-colored school uniform and soon dyed her left sleeve dark red. Student Sun Mayo. Stop. The supervising teachers immediately shouted loudly when they saw this. They were ready to close the protective barrier of the fighting arena and stepped forward to stop it, but found that the barrier could not be closed anyway. Today's third update are, the author is about to be washed up ORZ. The fighting scenes are so difficult. Crying to the sky cack. Chapter 241. Are you crazy too? What surprised the supervising teachers the most was not that the barrier covering the fighting arena could not be closed, but that the entrance and exit left on the barrier could not be opened. This meant that, unless the barrier was broken by a fierce attack, the people inside could not get out, and they could not go in to stop Sun Mayo from continuing to attack. Oh. It seems that the protection measures of 3047 Academy are indeed not in place. Blue White chuckled and looked at the fighting arena, posing as if he was watching the fun and not minding the big things. When such an accident occurred, the supervising teacher soon came in a hurry to report the situation and ask for instructions on how to deal with it. Now we can't close the barrier or open the passage. The teacher in charge of the operation reported with a guilty look on his face. Then apply. Ruman was about to say that she would go to the Dean of Teaching to apply for external force to destroy the barrier, but she heard Blue White interrupt her. Let's find a few more technicians to come over and inspect it first, Blue White said lazily. It's just 2 students fighting anyway. It won't cause any big trouble. So I don't think it's necessary to apply for the destruction of the barrier. What do you think, Miss Yu? Seeing this, Ruman could only lower her eyes and smile. Mr. White is right. Let's do as you say. After she said this, she silently clenched her fists, hoping that Wen Jiu could hold on until the barrier was lifted and no more accidents would happen. Sun Miro, who was half sitting on the ground after being knocked down by the fireball, was half closed her eyes and held up a black pistol in one hand. She looked at the blood dripping from Wen Jiu's left arm and couldn't help but smile. 2 more moves, classmate Wen. The warm blood kept dripping down Wen Jiu's cut left arm, falling on the light grey ground like a bunch of blooming red roses. Wen Jiu could feel the tearing pain brought by the bullet, as if a layer of her skin had been turned over. In fact, Sun Miro's sneak attack did not cause her too much emotional fluctuation, but there was still a sense of resentment brewing in her heart. Do you know that, if you damage the school uniform, you have to spend money to buy a new one? Wen Jiu quickly put the whip back into his trouser pocket, then took off his school uniform jacket and threw it on the ground. Considering that there will be a battle exam today, most of the students who come to take the exam are lightly dressed, wearing convenient, thin and relatively warm clothes. Wen Jiu is no exception. Although she is very afraid of cold, in order to get a good grade, she still endures the cold and changes into a summer school uniform. But the fabric of summer school uniforms is mainly thin and breathable, and even with a jacket, it has no function of keeping warm. So Wen Jiu's last stubbornness is to wear a set of autumn clothes and autumn pants under the thin long-sleeved trousers. By the way, the autumn clothes and autumn pants were bought when she went to the supermarket last time she left school. There was a promotion for the second set to be half price. There was no way she really couldn't bear to spend money on new clothes. In addition, the school uniform was quite comfortable, so she felt that there was no need to buy those fancy clothes. Although Ruman had sent a few sets of clothes before, they were all thick winter clothes for warmth. So when Jiu came to the combat test in her summer school uniform and autumn clothes. However, Sun Miro's bullet not only tore her school uniform jacket, but also cut a big hole in her long sleeves and autumn clothes. You really are. Sun Miro looked at Wen Jiu, who began to exude hostility, and she felt extremely excited. She stood up silently and pointed the gun at Wen Jiu again. Just when she was about to pull the trigger, the other party suddenly sprinted in front of her and then kicked her with a sweeping kick, kicking her pistol away. You really don't know how expensive firewood, rice and oil are. If you want to fight, just fight. Why destroy my clothes? I'm wearing a warm autumn coat that costs more than 400 star coins. Do you know how many fried rice you have to sell in the cafeteria to make this money? And buying a new school uniform will cost money, hundreds of star coins. Wen Jiu said as she grabbed Sun Miro's shoulders and pressed them down. At the same time, she raised her right leg and bent it, and her knee hit the opponent's abdomen fiercely. 2 moves, I'll let you 2 moves. It was not enough to hit Sun Miro's abdomen. Wen Jiu turned her over and pulled her arms from behind, then raised her foot and kicked her hard. Her kick was so powerful that Sun Miro fell face down heavily on the ground. The teachers in the audience, who were unable to close the barrier, were all staring at them blankly, and the students who didn't know what was going on and were waiting for the exam were also staring at the stage with shock. On the one hand, they were shocked that the two were still fighting, and on the other hand, they heard Wen Jiu's words of calculating the loss. How much money does this student need? Sun Miro fell face down on the ground and didn't move, as if she was seriously injured. Seeing the other party like this, Wen Jiu still didn't let down her guard. She had been attacked once, and she would definitely not let her back be attacked by the other party a second time. So she took out her golden whip again, intending to tie up Sun Miro and throw him aside, to prevent the other party from attacking again. The long sleeves and autumn clothes were probably scrapped, and she couldn't bear to lose her long pants and autumn pants. Although they were stained red by blood, they could still be worn after rubbing and washing. Wen Jiu subconsciously wanted to use her left hand to take the golden whip, but she felt the tearing pain again when her anger subsided. She glanced at her left arm. There was a deep scar near the upper arm caused by the bullet, and the skin and flesh on the surface were turned out. No wonder she lost so much blood. So Wen Jiu planned to tie up Sun Mao first, then pick up the school uniform she had just thrown away, and bandage it up. However, just as she lowered her head to take out the golden whip, Sun Mao, who was lying on the ground, moved her fingers slightly. Dense vines of different thicknesses emerged frantically from the bottom of the fighting stage, all attacking Wen Jiu's position. The tiny sounds attracted Wen Jiu's attention. Just as she wanted to retreat to defend herself, she was tied up by countless vines. The thick and strong vines wrapped around her limbs and lifted her up into the air little by little. Oh my god, this must be a second level superpower. When did Sun Mao break through to the second level? I took a superpower class with her before, and I didn't realize she was a second level superpower at all. The students in the audience were all staring at all this in a daze, and even the staff and supervising teachers who came to inspect were shocked by the scene. Sun Mao trembled and climbed up from the ground, with a bright green light shining in her palm. She half bent over and looked at Wen Jiu, who was tied up more and more tightly by the vines, her eyes full of excitement. What dual system superpowers? What god-chosen girl? She wanted to let those teachers know that hard work is far more important than talent. What right did those people take the initiative to disqualify her? Apart from having dual system superpowers, how else could Wen Jiu compare to her? Ha 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 ha. The vines wrapped Wen Jiu into a cocoon shape, and Sun Mao couldn't help laughing at this. Today's first update. I wish you all a happy New Year's Day. 030. In the new year, little angels should stay happy. I hope everyone is healthy and all the best. Chapter 242. What kind of monster are you? It seems that your prediction results are not very accurate. Blue White looked at Lu Zuoying. Although Sun Mao is a single line psychic, it is not bad for him to reach level 2 at this age. Mr. White, you blame me wrongly. Sun Mao's psychic potential is really only B+. But this child has always been diligent and willing to endure hardships, and he has trained his psychic ability to level 2. Lu Zuoying's attitude was respectful and docile. She kept reporting seriously. We also took into account that Wen Jiu has special physical conditions, which led to inaccurate results in the submitted reports. That's why Sun Mao was crossed out from the preliminary list and Wen Jiu was added. After listening to her words, Blue White continued to look at the stage and said, I believe they will be very happy to see this batch of seedlings, so why not add Sun Mao as well? It is an honor for Sun Mao to be appreciated by you. Lu Zuoying agreed with a smile. She secretly glanced at Yu Ruman, who was sitting there without speaking. The other party just lowered her head quietly, without looking at the stage or saying anything, making it difficult to guess what she was thinking. Seeing this, Lu Zuoying wanted to say something sarcastic, but thinking that she had been retorted by Blue White before, she had to suppress her thoughts for the time being, and continue to observe the movements on the stage. At this time, Sun Mao stumbled closer to Wen Jiu, and the other party was tied up by her vines into a cocoon, and hung in the air. Hiss. She wanted to stand up and look at the air, but the pain in her abdomen forced her to cover her stomach and bend down. Wen Jiu's strength just now was really not small. Even someone like her who had been trained in hitting could hardly bear it. What a pity. No matter how good the talent is. Sun Mao controlled the vines again to tie up Wen Jiu and used another vine to roll up the pistol that had just fallen to the ground. The dense vines bound Wen Jiu in it until Sun Mao's control slowly revealed a little gap. She raised the pistol with trembling hands, and a trace of resolute killing intent appeared in her eyes. In fact, she didn't want to do this, but Wen Jiu's appearance was too annoying. Why should she be replaced by a parachuted person, after training hard for several years? Thinking of this, Sun Mao's trembling hands gradually stabilized. She took a deep breath, and aimed at the small gap exposed by the vines. All her strength was poured into the index finger of her right hand. As long as she pulled the trigger, Wen Jiu would disappear from this world. Just like what Teacher Lu told her. As long as you get rid of Wen Jiu, the quota will definitely fall on your head. Then you will leave the 3047 Academy, enter the place you have been thinking about, and then stand out. This is the opportunity that the teacher worked hard to help her get. As long as she gets rid of Wen Jiu, she can complete the task and enter the training base. When she completes the training and comes out, no one can bully her at will. Thinking of this, Sun Mao's eyes were firm, and he held the pistol tightly. Sun Mao, stop it. If the students inside fight again, it will be considered a violation. Do you want your final exam results to be invalidated? Seeing that Sun Mao really wanted to kill, the teachers who were busy repairing the equipment outside shouted anxiously. The situation on the stage made the students below feel confused and panicked. Fortunately, a teacher came out in time to maintain order. All students quickly evacuate the examination room, and no whispering or loud noises are allowed. The teacher who maintained order organized the students to quickly leave the examination room, while other supervising teachers were ready to forcefully break the barrier to stop Sun Mao. Teacher Yu, Teacher Lu, a supervising teacher, and in front of them, if we don't forcefully break the barrier, it will be too late. However, Blue White just leaned back with his arms folded and said with a smile, even if we break the barrier now, it will be useless. Sun Mao is about to pull the trigger. Hearing his words, all the teachers looked at the fighting stage. Sun Mao held his breath and raised his pistol. With a sharp sound of breaking through the air, the golden bullet finally shot towards Wen Jiu. Oh, it's actually aimed at the heart. Bruce White curled his lips with a gloating look, his eyes fixed on the stage, waiting for the gorgeous blood flowers to bloom. However, just when the bullet was about to touch the gap, a more dazzling green light instantly covered it, making it difficult to see whether the bullet hit or not. Seeing this scene, Sun Mao decisively pulled the trigger again and fired a few more rounds. The sound of the bullet breaking through the air was extremely harsh, as if announcing the coming of death. However, several clusters of deep blue flames suddenly lit up and flew up along the vines that bound Wen Jiu, and the vines that were burned were instantly reduced to ashes. Wen Jiu, who was no longer bound, turned over and landed steadily on the ground. The bullets that were shot into the air naturally did not hit her. When she looked up at Sun Mao, she saw him unconsciously widen his eyes and take a few steps back. The calm grey blue eyes seemed to have lost their color, leaving only a silver grey color that almost merged with the whites of the eyes from a distance. Why are you running? Isn't it a bit unfair to run away after you hit me? Wen Jiu stood up and walked forward slowly. With every step, blood dripped from her fingertips to the ground, as if she was stepping on a gorgeous rose in full bloom. What kind of monster are you? After shouting, Sun Mao instinctively became terrified. She gasped and fired frantically at the front. However, Wen Jiu only slightly tilted his head and turned sideways, easily dodging the several bullets she shot. The bullets in the gun were empty, and Sun Mao had to use his supernatural power again to summon vines. The dancing vines attacked Wen Jiu unwillingly, and the airflow driven by the fierce attack was like a whistling gale. Wen Jiu continued to step forward without even looking. A cluster of deep blue flames condensed into a ball in her hand. The next second, she raised her left hand to let the flame fly away and ignited all the vines in an instant. Ashes with faint sparks were floating in the air. Wen Jiu walked to a place not far from Sun Mao with a lazy smile and stopped. You dare to use wood-related abilities in front of me? She showed a bit of disdain on her face and yawned very casually. Sun Mao was about to continue to fight back, but suddenly her hands and feet were tied up by vines that came out of nowhere. Just like she controlled the vines to bind Wen Jiu before, but now the person being bound became herself. The harder she struggled to escape, the tighter the vines that bound her became, leaving deep blood marks on her wrists and ankles. Today's second update has been delivered. Please check it out, little angels. 030. Chapter 243 What kind of monster are you? Part 2. Wen Jiu seemed to be very sleepy. She yawned again before speaking. I don't think I have offended you. Is it necessary to hit you so hard for just an exam? What do you know? Sun Mao was still struggling. And what qualifications do you have to lecture me from a high position? Hearing this, Wen Jiu tilted her head and shrugged. Okay, then I'm qualified to hit you, right? After saying this, she stretched out her hand and slapped Sun Mao's face. Sun Mao closed her eyes tightly, thinking that she was about to be hit hard, but the slap stopped a few centimeters away from her face. Forget it, it hurts my hand to hit you with my hand. Wen Jiu retracted his hand, and smiled and stepped back a few steps. The next second, a vine as thick as an adult's arm suddenly hit Sun Mao's body, and the burning pain made her gasp. This whip is to repay you for injuring my left arm with a gun. This whip is to tell you not to damage other people's clothes in future fights. This whip is to teach you that, if you have the ability, you can cripple me, instead of standing there and talking nonsense. Every time Wen Jiu finished a sentence, the vine would automatically whip Sun Mao's body, causing him to frown, and unable to open his eyes. Her eyes were full of icy coldness, and the uncontrolled desire to kill appeared in her mind again. Since Sun Mao was determined to kill her, it would not be too much for her to return this pain. Moreover, if she did not kill Sun Mao now, she might end up raising a tiger to cause trouble in the future. The more she thought about it, the colder Wen Jiu's expression became, and a faint murderous intent appeared in her silver eyes. She used the vine to move Sun Mao, who was almost fainted from the whipping, to her front, and his body was already covered with bloodstains. Wen Jiu, if you have the guts, just kill me. Sun Mao tried to open her eyes and look at Wen Jiu. The tears flowing from the pain made her vision a little blurry. Anyway, when she was ruthless, she was ready to be killed in return. So even if she was killed by Wen Jiu now, she would not feel regretful. But it was this one look that made her tremble in disbelief and said, "Why do you have ears on your head?" Seeing that Sun Mao's expression did not seem to be fake, Wen Jiu reached out and touched the top of his head. Then she was also stunned. A pair of furry ears inexplicably appeared on the top of her soft hair. Fuck. Wen Jiu blinked blankly. She had never expected this to happen. The shock made her murderous intent in her heart fade a little, and the silver in her eyes also faded a little. But after suffering 2 losses, she would not suffer a third time. Wen Jiu tied Sun Mao tightly with vines, and tied a bow on the outside with a golden whip, leaving only Sun Mao's head outside. In order to prevent Sun Mao from continuing to control his supernatural powers to fight back, she simply picked up the whip and hit him hard, knocking him unconscious. Then Wen Jiu controlled the vines to pick up her school uniform and tore off a piece of cloth to make a simple hemostatic bandage for her left arm. After this series of operations, she only felt that the strong murderous intent in her heart became lighter and lighter, and now her attention is all on the ears on her head. These ears appeared without her knowing. The most important thing is that before Sun Mao mentioned the ears, she didn't feel anything at all. Wen Jiu carefully stretched out her right hand and pinched the right ear. The shape of this ear is a bit like a triangle, slightly standing forward. It feels furry and soft, but the outer layer of fur is slightly harder, while the inner layer of fur is softer and easier to pinch. And when she pinched it like this, she felt a strange tingling feeling. So what exactly is she made of, and why did she suddenly have a pair of animal ears? Classmate, we are about to break through the barrier. Wen Jiu was rubbing her extra ears when she suddenly heard shouts coming from outside the barrier. Perhaps because she had burned all the vines summoned by Sun Mao, the flying ashes made it difficult for people outside to see what was happening here. So Wen Jiu summoned vines to weave a net wall that could cover herself, for fear that the teacher would hurt herself when breaking through the barrier. Lu Zuoying, I tell you, if Wen Jiu gets into trouble here today, you can expect punishment from above. Teacher Yu, don't be so excited. I believe that with Wen Jiu's talent level, he won't be so easily, well, you know. Stop arguing, both of you. No matter who is left behind, Wen Jiu or Sun Mao, I will report to the above to join the plan. Wen Jiu could feel that the ears on her head seemed to stand up, and then she heard all kinds of chaotic sounds. Not only was there the quarrel between Yu Rumen and Lu Zuoying, but also the magnetic bass of an unfamiliar adult male. At the same time, there were all kinds of hurried and chaotic footsteps, as well as the attack sounds and discussions of the teachers who were working together to break the barrier. Will that Sun Mao do something to Wen Jiu? Impossible. I saw Wen Jiu use firepower to attack Sun Mao's vines before, but the color of the flame was a bit strange. Stop talking nonsense, break the barrier, and bring the two students out. Don't you think this matter is not big enough? All these voices entered Wen Jiu's mind, and there were even some small sounds that she couldn't distinguish for the time being. Did the hearing sensitivity double with the addition of 2 ears? Wen Jiu thought about this question silently, and her right hand still didn't stop rubbing the ears on the top of her head, and she slid down and touched her original ears. Fortunately, her original ears did not disappear, and they were still pointed and long. After a while, only a small cracking sound was heard. The barrier covering the fighting stage was finally shattered by the attack, and the supervising teachers rushed over. Bring the medical kit. Quick. Several supervising teachers hurriedly stepped onto the steps, holding various medical supplies and medicine bottles in their hands. Seeing this, Wen Jiu put the remaining school uniform jacket on her head. She didn't want to be caught for human body research. Then she quickly retracted the vines, and Sun Mao, who was no longer bound by the vines, was only tied with a golden whip. The sound of Ruman's high heels appeared immediately after the footsteps of those teachers, and she ran to Wen Jiu in panic. Are you okay? Hearing this, Wen Jiu shook his head. The teacher next to her first came over and took off the cloth strips she had casually bandaged, took out the disinfectant spray and sprayed it around the wound, and then applied a layer of hemostatic gel to her to complete the simple treatment. It seems that student won in the end. Wen Jiu looked in the direction of the seemingly gentle, but actually sarcastic voice, and a female teacher in a white professional suit was walking towards her. She seemed to have seen this teacher before, and she looked familiar, and the voice also made her feel very familiar. Woohoo, I'm here to make up for the third update. Cack. Happy New Year to all the little angels. 030. You can guess what the composition of Jiu is, had he. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244. Hospitalized again. 1. Ruman ignored Lu Zuiying's sarcasm. She just held Wen Jiu's right hand tightly and said softly, I'll take you to the infirmary. Okay. Wen Jiu nodded obediently and followed Ruman to the edge of the fighting arena. Seeing that Ruman ignored her, Lu Zuiying did not show any dissatisfaction. Instead, she watched them leave with a deep smile. As the two of them stepped down the steps to the fighting arena, they saw Blue White lazily stretched out his hand to stop them. Miss Yu, isn't it against the rules for you to take Wen Jiu away in such a hurry? He kept looking at Wen Jiu as he spoke, and finally his eyes fell on the top of his head. Did classmate Wen Jiu have a head injury? Why is there a piece of clothing on it? Hearing this, Ruman pulled Wen Jiu behind her like a mother animal protecting her calf. She looked at Blue White coldly and said, Mr. White, I respect you as an inspector sent by the higher ups, so I respect you a little more. But now my student is injured, but you are stopping her from receiving treatment. Then don't blame me for being rude. After saying this, a green light instantly appeared around Ruman. Seeing that she wanted to get serious, Blue White was stunned for a moment, then stepped aside and teased, Miss Yu is really a very responsible mother. Ruman only pulled Wen Jiu forward quickly, fearing that Blue White would catch up and ask something. In order to facilitate students who were accidentally injured during training to come for treatment, the infirmary is not far from the training ground. As soon as the door of the infirmary was opened, Ruman shouted inside, Hong Zia Hong, don't sleep. After a while, a tall woman in a white coat came out. Her hair was messy, as if she had just woken up. Why do you always make a fuss every time you come here? Hong Zia Hong yawned, calmed down and said, bring this child here for me to see. Ruman then took Wen Jiu into the infirmary and locked the door after entering. Did you hurt your head? Why are you still covering yourself with clothes? Hong Xiaohan pulled Wen Jiu over to take a look, then turned around to find medicine. I'm quite bald. Wen Jiu said calmly, I'm a little inferior, so I covered my head. Hearing her say this, Hong Xiaohan came over and mercilessly tore off her school uniform. It's not bald. Your hair is quite thick. Wen Jiu subconsciously covered her head, but there was nothing else on it, except her slightly frizzy hair. The ears were gone. Come sit over here, I'll treat your injuries again. Hong Xiaohan sat on a chair in front of a hospital bed, and waved to Wen Jiu. So Wen Jiu walked forward, while wondering in his heart, and then sat on the bed and let Hong Xiaohan treat his wound. I have to cut your clothes for you, otherwise it will be difficult to disinfect and suture. Hong Xiaohan looked careless, but she was very careful and meticulous in doing things. She carefully used scissors to cut the material of Wen Jiu's wound, and cut his long sleeves into short sleeves. Your wound is mainly deep, but fortunately the area is not large. Then she used saline and hydrogen peroxide to wash Wen Jiu's wound and arm. Because Wen Jiu's wound was deep, she also took a pain relieving spray to spray it on it. Finally, spray a thick layer of hemostatic gel, and then tie gauze to prevent infection to complete the treatment. Don't let the wound get wet when you go back. It will be fine after a good night's sleep with the gel repair. If you can remove the gauze yourself, you don't need to come here again. If you can't remove it yourself or feel uncomfortable, come to me. And the other injuries on your body are not serious. I'll get you a spray. Just spray it a few more times. Hong Xiaohan said as she rummaged through the cabinet behind her. After a while, she threw a bottle of spray on the bed. Okay, I'm going to sleep. She raised her chin and exchanged glances with Yu Rumen. I helped you again. Remember to send me the bag later. Hearing this, Yu Rumen nodded and replied, I know. Go to sleep. After Hong Xiaohan went into the inner room to rest, she sighed and sat on the edge of the bed, looking at Wen Jiu with half heartache and half helplessness. Teacher Yu, who was the man who stopped you just now? Wen Jiu was the first to break the quiet atmosphere. She could guess that everything that happened today was aimed at her. Someone must have tampered with it in advance, so she happened to take the exam at the same time as Sun Miro, and happened to be in the same group as Sun Miro. The most coincidental thing was that the barrier that had no problems during other people's exams broke down during her exam. But Wen Jiu didn't quite understand what all this was for. On the surface, it looked like they were trying to get rid of her, but she always felt that there were other purposes. Yu Rumen sighed again and whispered slowly, it's someone from the White family. He's here to monitor the exam situation. Every time there is a final exam, people will be sent to monitor it. This is not only the case in our 3047 college, but other colleges will also be monitored by the higher-ups. After saying that, she rubbed her eyebrows, and it can be seen that she is very anxious now. Then, what's the situation with Sun Miro? Wen Jiu patted her gently with his uninjured right hand to comfort her. Hearing this question, Yu Rumen pondered for a moment before speaking. In fact, she is also a poor child, but she has not met anyone who can teach her well. As early as when she was 7 years old, she was taken to a very bad place for training. It is said to be training, but it is more like brainwashing. It is difficult for children who come out of there to get out of that brainwashing mode. Under the harsh training and brainwashing of those people, they have become people who do not understand emotions, but are sensitive and fragile. Yu Rumen talked for a long time, and her expression became heavier at the end. I sent people to communicate with Sun Miro privately several times, but she was brainwashed too deeply. She regarded the words of those people as the truth, and believed them without a doubt. She even thought about obtaining information by pretending to please my people, and then giving it to her contact in exchange for a little attention and love. Wen Jiu listened quietly to these stories that she had never known. Although she felt that Sun Miro was indeed pitiful, she could not pity such a person just because the other party wanted to get rid of her. Anyway, I will definitely report and deal with Sun Miro. Yu Rumen finally cheered up a little. Wen Jiu, you have to believe that I will never hurt you. Today's first update. I hope the little angels have a good time during the New Year's Day holiday 030. Chapter 245 Hospitalized Again 2. Although there are many things I can't tell you for the time being, I will never hurt my students, let alone my nominal daughter. At the end, Yu Rumen's tone gradually weakened. She felt really guilty now. She didn't expect those people to dare to take action during the final exam. Even in front of her, they took action against Wen Jiu. If Wen Jiu got into trouble, she would really face collapse. I believe you, teacher Yu. Wen Jiu's crisp voice was like a spring in the forest, flowing in Yu Ruman's heart and comforting her. The two sat in silence for a while, and Yu Ruman said, I'm going to send you to the hospital to ask Dr. Zhu to give you 2 days of sick leave. You can take your exams after I finish my business. Okay. Wen Jiu also knew that this was not the time to be willful. After she agreed, Yu Ruman took her out of the back door of the college, sent Sun Mao back to the base. Lu Zuang changed her previous gentle smile and looked coldly at Sun Mao lying in the medical cabin. There is more than one infirmary in the college. Because Hang Xiaohang always sleeps in the inner room and ignores people, few people go to her for treatment. So Sun Mao was carried to another infirmary. After a simple cleaning, the doctor put her in the medical cabin for treatment. But Sun Mao's injuries have not recovered yet. If we send her away now, I'm afraid. Hearing this, Lu Zuang smiled faintly, but her eyes were full of coldness. Why? No one listens to what I say now. Send Sun Mao back now, otherwise when they react and investigate, it will not be just Sun Mao who will be held accountable. After hearing her words, the doctors and teachers standing next to her could only agree repeatedly. Sister Lu, Yu Ruman just took Wen Jiu away from the college. Suddenly someone pushed the door in and respectfully reported the movement outside. This matter has alarmed Dean Huang. The higher-ups asked us to get rid of Sun Mao as soon as possible to prevent her from revealing the plan. Mr. White is also about to leave. He asked me to tell you something. Hearing this, LV Zuang hooked her finger to signal the other party to come closer. Mr. White said that he hopes you can give him an explanation for the loss of the seedlings this time. He doesn't want to not be able to hand in even a single excellent seedling. LV Zuang's smile became even stronger after hearing this. What a short-sighted man. The person who came in to report didn't hear this sentence clearly, so he asked again in confusion. However, LV Zuang only said, don't worry, I will take care of Sun Mao. And I will also make up for the seedling quota that has been handed in. You don't have to keep an eye on Yu Ruman for the time being. Someone in the hospital will help us watch over her. After that, she directed others to quickly take Sun Mao away from College 3047. On the other side, what's the matter? Are you going to come to me to beg for food with your dirty clothes? Seeing that Yu Ruman and Wen Jiu both looked unhappy, Zhu Wangming told a few jokes to make them happy. As a result, Yu Ruman came up and punched him, who said you were begging for food. Hurry up and write a hospitalization order. I'll leave little Wen Jiu with you for 2 days. Hiss. Zhu Wangming took a step back to avoid it, pretending to be hit. Okay, stop acting. Yu Ruman felt that her mood was barely better. I have to go back, so you should write me a hospitalization order quickly. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming immediately returned to his seriousness and sat down at the table. He took out the electronic panel, clicked and slid a few times, and wrote a hospitalization order for Wen Jiu. It's done. I'll start with 3 days of hospitalization. Then he stood up and printed out the order with a printer and handed it to Yu Ruman. This paper order was mainly for the other party to take back and explain. Yu Ruman was still in a hurry to go back to deal with the remaining things, but she still concernedly pulled Wen Jiu to give him instructions for a long time before leaving the hospital. As soon as she left, Zhu Wangming lost his teasing mood. Dr. Zhu, do you want to check me again? Wen Jiu thought that, since she was here, she should get a free physical examination and treatment. However, Zhu Wangming only handed her a glass of warm water and said, I see that you are full of energy, so there is no need for that. Besides, it's just a minor injury, and you will be fine after a good sleep. Wen Jiu took the water cup with his right hand and took a sip, then said lightly, Uncle Zhu, I have ears. Hearing her words, Zhu Wangming said speechlessly, who doesn't have ears? Alas. Wen Jiu sighed at this unreliable adult male, then she put down the water cup and gestured on her head with her hands twice. I mean that I have ears here, and they are the kind of furry ears like some kind of animal. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhu Wangming hurriedly walked in front of her and pulled her head with his hands. but he didn't find anything unusual after turning it over and over, and instead messed up Wen Jiu's hair. Uncle Zhu, can you really braid your hair? Wen Jiu's hair was messed up during the fight, but Yu Rumen had tied a new ponytail for her before coming. As a result, Zhu Wangming pulled her hair and turned it over and over, and instantly made her hair a mess. Don't talk, I'll comb it for you right away. Zhu Wangming combed Wen Jiu's hair with his fingers with a guilty conscience, but he made his hair more and more messy and even tangled it. He was really embarrassed to face his masterpiece, so he could only cough twice to try to divert Wen Jiu's attention. Ahem, tell me again how your ears appeared. I was fighting with someone, and suddenly they appeared during the fight. I didn't notice when they disappeared later, so I don't know how they disappeared. It was as if she hadn't said anything, but Zhu Wangming still pondered for a while before speaking. Then let's do a comprehensive check later. You can recall if there was anything abnormal during the fight. Hearing this, Wen Jiu nodded. Okay, so Uncle Zhu, when can you tie my hair up? This sentence made Zhu Wangming stuck, and he replied dryly, little Wen Jiu, why don't you consider cutting your hair shorter so that you don't have to tie it into a ponytail or a pigtail? Wen Jiu was silent for a moment and then turned his head and shouted, Uncle Zhu, you really are lying to me. You actually lied to a child. You are so immoral. You are, In order to prevent his reputation from being ruined, Zhu Wangming had to find a nurse with experience in taking care of children. Well, just do this, and then that and it's done. The nurse braided Wen Jiu's hair into a cute 3-strand braid in 2 or 3 strokes, which made Zhu Wangming stunned. Thank you, Sister Huang. He stood at the door and saw the nurse off. Then he sighed and squatted in front of Wen Jiu and said, this matter is over. I will take you to complete the hospitalization procedures now. Today's second update has been delivered. Please check it out, little angels. 030. Chapter 246 Hospitalized Again 3. Wen Jiu checked into the single room again, where daily necessities were fully prepared. She let the nurse help her change into the hospital gown, and then she lay on the bed and began to think deeply. There were too many strange things that happened. Yu Rumen gave her a lot of answers about Sun Mao, but she always felt that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. And that weird female teacher, she was sure that she was the woman she met in the stairwell last time. And she had seen that female teacher several times in the cafeteria. If she remembered correctly, Ziqingyu seemed to have mentioned the origin of this person. It seemed that she was a new teacher transferred to the 3047 Academy this semester. According to what she overheard before, it can be analyzed that this female teacher and Gore Green are in the same group, and their target is herself. And there should be someone else behind them, so they mentioned the word mission in the conversation. It's a pity that she didn't overhear what the mission was, and she couldn't guess what kind of mission it was at present. Alas, I just want to be a rich man quietly. Why is it so difficult? Wen Jiu kicked off her shoes, rubbed herself up and turned over, successfully burying herself in the soft quilt. But there was one thing she couldn't figure out, that is, if the group's mission was really to get rid of her, they could have carried out this plan in secret, and there was no need to send Sun Mao to make such a big fuss. Now this move not only sacrificed Sun Mao as a chess piece, but also caused the group to be exposed and tracked down by Yu Rumen. So what is their real purpose? Thinking about it, a heavy drowsiness came over Wen Jiu, and she finally closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up again, Zhu Wangming was sitting in front of her bed peeling an apple. Do you want to eat it? The other party peeled a small piece and handed it to her mouth, so she stretched her head and swallowed the apple into her mouth. The sour and sweet taste was very refreshing and instantly diluted the dizzy feeling that Wen Jiu had just woken up. She glanced out the window, and it was actually dark now. I thought you were going to sleep until tomorrow, but you woke up right now. Zhu Wangming took a bite of the remaining apple and smacked his lips in satisfaction. Wen Jiu sat up and leaned against the pillow. Uncle Zhu, please give me something to eat. I'm so hungry after sleeping. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming took out a bottle of nutrient solution from his pocket, cracked it open, and handed it to her, saying, just make do with it. I don't think you can eat our patient lunch boxes. Wen Jiu thought about the taste of the food outside and decisively took the nutrient solution and drank it all. The feeling of hunger was quickly suppressed and followed by a very comfortable feeling of fullness, as if she was 8/10 full. By the way, mother, you asked me to tell you to have a good rest. Zhu Wangming took another bite of the apple. She has applied for sick leave for you and will pick you up from the hospital in 2 days and then go back to school for the makeup exam. After hearing what he said, Wen Jiu pouted and responded in a low voice. And don't tell anyone else about your ear. Currently, only you, me, and your mother know about it. That's not necessarily true. Wen Jiu added softly, Sun Mao also saw my extra ear before I knocked her out. She will probably tell others when she wakes up. Zhu Wangming threw the apple core in his hand into the trash can and wiped his fingers with a tissue and said, don't worry, Sun Mao has no chance of waking up. Wen Jiu paused after hearing this and she turned her head to look at Zhu Wangming. Although the other person still had a smile on his face, a hint of murderous intent appeared in his eyes. He said this very easily, as if he was just telling Wen Jiu what to eat tomorrow morning. I won't do anything. Zhu Wangming raised his glasses slightly. It's the people over there who don't want Sun Mao as a chess piece anymore. They think that anyone who has been squeezed dry of value has no need to continue to exist. So they rushed Sun Mao back to the base. To put it bluntly, they gave up on treating her. Wen Jiu felt very complicated after hearing these words, and she didn't know what to say for a moment. However, Zhu Wangming quickly ended the topic. He took a cup of hot water and took a sip gracefully. By the way, were you awake during the fight with Sun Mao? He frowned slightly and thought. Yes, I was awake all the time. Wen Jiu lowered his head and answered, but there is one thing that is quite strange. I felt very sleepy at the end of the fight. I was so sleepy that I could fall asleep at any time. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming quickly said, this is indeed very strange. Who would want to fall asleep during a fight? Who is not afraid of being beaten by the opponent after falling asleep? Indeed. Wen Jiu agreed and laughed out loud. She inexplicably imagined herself lying on the fighting stage wrapped in a quilt. It was really funny. This smile eased the atmosphere a lot, and the depression between Zhu Wangming's brows also dissipated a little. However, Wen Jiu could feel that perhaps the murderous Zhu Wangming was the most real. Anyway, you should have a good rest first. You don't need to worry about other things. Zhu Wangming chatted with Wen Jiu for a few more words, patted the quilt for her, and left the ward. In any case, she knew that Zhu Wangming and Yu Ruman had no ill will towards her, but she really couldn't let her not worry about those things. When Wen Jiu wanted to start thinking again, her wisdom ring suddenly flashed. So she opened the light screen panel, only to see that Kaioshishi and Zikingayu had sent her nearly 99 messages. The content was basically asking about her situation. In order to let these two people feel relieved and take the exam well, Wen Jiu sent them a voice message. Beep beep. Beep beep. As soon as she sent the message, the two people started a video call with her. Because the three of them were in the same small group, the system automatically converted the screen into 3 after the connection. Woo woo woo. Jiuji, you must not die. If you die, I will have nothing to eat. Zikingayu, shut up. Jiu is fine. Zikingayu put his face in front of the camera. His eyes were red and swollen as if he had just cried. Kaioshishi next to him was much calmer, but her face was also full of worry. I'm just here to have some quiet time for 2 days, and I'll be back soon. Wen Jiu couldn't help but be moved by the concern of these two people. However, she still concealed her emotions and said in a relaxed and cheerful tone, you two must do well in the exam. If you fail, you are not allowed to come to my house for free meals. Woo 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 woo, I will definitely do well in the exam. Misty eyes appeared in Zikingayu's eyes again. Then Jiuji, take care of yourself and get well soon. Kaioshishi looked at him with disgust and then said to Wen Jiu, Jiu, you must cooperate with the doctor's treatment. It's cold at night. Remember to cover yourself with a blanket, drink more hot water, and take care of yourself. Then Wen Jiu comforted them a few more words and gave them some encouragement and then hung up the video call. However, when she opened the light screen panel, she found that the handsome boy had sent her a message last night. Today's third update was also delivered on time. Hehe. Proudly akimbo. Chapter 247 Come, drink medicine for a long time 1. Wen Jiu couldn't help laughing when she saw the message from the other party. This handsome boy actually sincerely wished her children good luck in the exam. Since he said so, Wen Jiu replied with a thank you. However, it was rare that the other party didn't come to chat with her tonight, so Wen Jiu posted a notice in the dynamic area of Xingbo and Bakaliv that the live broadcast would be suspended for 2 days, and then turned off the light screen panel. Then she buried herself in the quilt again. Although the temperature began to rise gradually after the cold season, she still felt that the temperature was unbearably cold. Wen Jiu guessed that it might be because of the original body weakness, so she was more afraid of cold than ordinary people. It seems that she has to eat more medicinal food and pills to replenish her body. She used to be able to go swimming in the river in the winter. Thinking of this, Wen Jiu began to plan her own plan to strengthen her body. Pills don't need to be rushed. Now there is a customized nutrient solution given by Zhu Wangming as a friendly gift. The nutrients in it are very rich, and they are all what she needs. She could have some medicinal food, but now her left arm was injured, and she had to wait until it recovered before she could cook. As she thought about it, Wen Jiu felt sleepy. The next day, still sleeping? If you sleep any longer, you will miss lunch. Wen Jiu got out of bed in a daze after hearing the voice, and saw Zhu Wangming in a white coat standing helplessly in front of her bed. It's almost 12 o'clock. Seeing that she finally woke up, Zhu Wangming pointed to the clock on the wall. Sit up and let me see how your wound is recovering. After saying that, he helped Wen Jiu sit up, and then took off a large hospital gown, and then picked up something to remove the gauze. Wen Jiu was still a little sleepy, but after taking off the coat, she was left with only a tight vest. The cold wind outside the window blew over, and she was instantly sobered up by the cold. Your wound has almost healed. Zhu Wangming applied a layer of gel on her. I'll apply some gel to accelerate healing. The bleeding has stopped, so there's no need to bandage it. Wen Jiu glanced at her left arm. The part that was originally cut and exposed the skin and flesh had healed for the most part, and it didn't look so scary anymore. After treating her wound, Zhu Wangming asked, do you want to eat the patient's meal or drink the nutrient solution? Nutrient solution. Wen Jiu answered decisively. So Zhu Wangming took out a bottle of nutrient solution from his pocket and opened it. Try it and see how it tastes. I made it with an apple flavor for you. Hearing him say this, Wen Jiu first took it back and smelled it carefully. When she was smelling the smell carefully, she could see from the corner of her eye that Zhu Wangming had been staring at her movements. Although she felt a little strange and confused, she still drank the nutrient solution in small sips. When it first came to her mouth, it was sour and sweet with a faint apple fragrance, but the more she drank, the stronger the apple flavor became. After drinking it, it felt like drinking concentrated apple juice, which was particularly choking. Ugh. When Jiu finished the last drop of nutrient solution, and even frowned. She quickly picked up the water cup on the bedside, and took a few sips of water, then said, Uncle Zhu, are you taking revenge on me? How can you say that to me? Zhu Wangming pulled a chair over and sat down. I thought you had to drink nutrient solution every day, and I was afraid you would get tired of it, so I specially added a few fruit flavors. Thank you so much. Did you pour all the apple concentrate in? Wen Jiu pouted in disgust. Seeing that she was about to start complaining again, Zhu Wangming became serious and started talking about other things. One good news and one bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Hearing him say this, Wen Jiu leaned back on the pillow casually and said, listen to the good news first. I'm weak and can't bear too bad news. After that, she pretended to cough weakly a few times. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming raised his glasses and smiled. Okay, then I'll tell you the bad news first. The higher-ups know what happened yesterday, so they sent other inspectors to College 3047 to monitor and investigate. Now your mother Yu not only has to report and resolve Sun Mao's matter, but also has to devote her energy to dealing with the new inspector, so I'm afraid she won't be able to pick you up from the hospital in the next few days. And I don't know who leaked the news, but now the whole college knows that you were beaten into the hospital by Sun Mao. Wen Jiu was a little listless at first, but she immediately perked up when she heard Zhu Wangming's last words. What do you mean I was beaten into the hospital by Sun Mao? I was the winner. She sat up straight with indignation. This is a smear on me. Yes, yes, yes. Zhu Wangming pushed her back. The college has already clarified the rumors for you. You won the battle between you and Sun Mao. Wen Jiu felt a lot more comfortable after hearing this. If you have any other bad news, just tell me all at once. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhu Wangming's expression became solemn. The higher-ups now suspect that there is false information in your numerical data, and the new inspector is here to investigate whether someone has tampered with your data. All the students in your academy have their numerical records uploaded to the academy's backend, and then the backend teachers hand them over to the teachers in charge of managing the data. They are then summarized and submitted to the higher-ups for selection. But your data was modified by Yu Ruman, so if the inspector finds out that she has modified the numbers, she will be taken away to receive severe punishment. Wen Jiu was confused and worried by every word she heard, so she asked, why did teacher Yu modify my numerical data? And what can I do to help her? Because all your numbers are top notch. Over the years, there is only one child who is a dual system mutant like you who can compare with you. But after that child was discovered and taken away by the higher-ups, he was forced to undergo a lot of cruel training and painful torture, and eventually lost his mind, and became a tool for killing. We don't want you to be the next victim, so we have been trying our best to hide all kinds of information about you, including modifying your numerical data. Wen Jiu was silent for a while after hearing what he said. She didn't expect this matter to be so complicated. Not only did it involve the people around her, but also the college executives and even the people above, that only existed in the mouths of Zhu Wangming and Yu Ruman. So, that child is Zhao Chu, right? Wen Jiu curled up his legs expressionlessly. Zhu Wangming didn't expect that this was the first question she asked, but he still answered, yes. He raided and killed 2 executives at the college competition 3 years ago, and then fled the scene and his whereabouts are still unknown. Oh. Wen Jiu responded sullenly. She always felt suffocated in her heart. On the one hand, she felt a little aggrieved that she had been kept in the dark for so long before she knew the truth, and on the other hand, she developed a great disgust for the so-called people above. Today's first update. Please check it out, little angels. 030. Conspiracies are so hard to write. It's almost draining my little brain. ORZ. Chapter 248. Come, drink medicine for a long time too. But the most important thing right now is not to worry about those trivial things, but to think of a way to help Yu Ruman out of the crisis. Uncle Zhu, you told me all this, not just to let me know the truth, right? Wen Jiu calmed down. Do you want me to cooperate with you to do something? She felt that there must be a reason why Yu Ruman had been hiding those things from her. And what Zhu Wangming revealed to her now should be only a small part of it. Those things must be more complicated than she imagined, and definitely far more than what Zhu Wangming said. So it is easy to guess the purpose of Zhu Wangming revealing this content. Most likely, he wants her to cooperate with him to do something to help Yu Ruman out of danger. Yes, you are right. Zhu Wangming saw that Wen Jiu saw his true purpose and admitted it straightforwardly. You already know that Yu Ruman modified your information, so the only thing you have to do is to cooperate with me to make the information more real. Wen Jiu was a little confused, so Zhu Wangming continued. In the afternoon, the hospital will give you another full body examination in the name of re-examination, and an inspector will come to observe the situation secretly. Because I have been in contact with you too much, another doctor will be responsible for your examination at that time. You just need to drink this bottle of medicine. The ingredients in it will produce adverse reactions after mixing with the nutrient solution you just drank. That is to make your body and brain have a certain disorder, so as to achieve the effect of confusing the real value. Wen Jiu calmly looked at the bottle of medicine handed over by Zhu Wangming, and suddenly laughed. So you said that the taste adjustment is just to fool me, right? The strong apple flavor is to cover up the existence of other drug ingredients. She is not really a 10-year-old girl. Although she does not have much social experience in modern times, she is still very sensitive in interacting with people. When she took the nutrient solution just now, Zhu Wangming kept staring at her for fear that she would doubt and not drink it. Now, combined with the other party's words, it was hard for her not to suspect that this was a long-planned plan. Yes and no. Zhu Wangming showed no anger at being exposed. It's true that I wanted to mix you some delicious fruit flavors, but I did increase the concentrated essence of apples to cover up the smell of other new drugs. After listening to his explanation, Wen Jiu thought for a moment before asking, "What will you do if I don't drink the nutrient solution and this potion, and don't cooperate with you in executing the plan?" The moment the voice fell, Zhu Wangming changed from a gentle and easygoing attitude to a cold and murderous look. Coupled with his pair of gold-rimmed glasses, he felt like a gentleman. It was obviously the same person, but the temperament was completely different. "Maybe I will inject it into you, and then use some means to hypnotize you?" The corners of his lips rose slightly, "But I believe our little Wen Jiu will definitely cooperate well, right?" he said while looking at Wen Jiu, as if he would really hold the other person down and inject the medicine in the next second. However, Wen Jiu looked at him fearlessly, pretending to smile and said, "Uncle Zhu, I think you will never be able to catch up with Teacher Yu." As soon as she said this, the stiff situation was immediately broken, and Zhu Wangming became polite again. What are you talking about, little brat?" Zhu Wangming looked away unnaturally. "Your mother Yu and I have an unbreakable comradeship, do you understand?" "Oh, I understand." Wen Jiu blinked and moved forward, taking the bottle of medicine. She opened the lid without hesitation and drank it all, which made Zhu Wangming feel inexplicably relieved. "It seems that your mother Yu loves you well." He took the empty bottle from Wen Jiu and teased a few more times. Wen Jiu glanced at him. "What's the old age? Teacher Yu is still young." Yes. Zhu Wangming pinched his eyebrows and became serious again. "I'll have to work hard to cooperate with you next. Those people will probably come to you for a re-examination around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. By then, you don't need to worry about the physical value and the potential of supernatural power. With the influence of the medicine, the values of these 2 items will basically remain around sea level. It's just that I can't use drugs to affect your mental power potential for the time being, so you have to control your mental power well and try to perform at the B level." After he finished speaking, Wen Jiu said, "Can they find out the drug reaction in my body?" Zhu Wangming suddenly sneered. They can't find it." It can be heard that he is very confident in himself, and he is very disdainful of those people. "By the way, Uncle Zhu, what herbs did you use?" Wen Jiu recalled the medicinal taste he had just tasted. "In addition to red mountain white flowers, snake fruit, purple jalapeño, what else?" Hearing this, Zhu Wangming's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He heard Yu Rumen mention that Wen Jiu was very talented in pharmacy and even improved the potion formula. But he didn't expect that he could tell all the herbs used just by drinking the potion he made. "I'll teach you after this matter is settled." Zhu Wangming stretched out his hand to touch Wen Jiu's head, but he dodged it. "Please let my hair go, Uncle Zhu." Wen Jiu silently moved away. "It's already 12:30, aren't you going to have lunch?" Zhu Wangming wanted to sigh when he mentioned eating. Ever since he had the mutton soup made by Wen Jiu, he had a rejection reaction to other foods, and now he can only rely on nutrient solution. "No." Zhu Wangming took the empty potion bottle and nutrient solution bottle, bent down and fumbled in the bedside table for a moment. Then he stood up and walked to the cart. "I should go back to the office for lunch break. You should be extra sleepy now because of the drug reaction. You can take a nap." After saying that, Zhu Wangming pushed the cart out of the ward. Before he stepped out of the door, he turned his head and looked at Wen Jiu and said, "Ahem, why did you say that I was not good enough for your mother Yu?" Hearing this, Wen Jiu stuck out his tongue. "Because you are so fierce. You are fierce to me. I will ask Teacher Yu to give you a low score." Zhu Wangming wanted to step back a few steps and argue with Wen Jiu, but he saw a figure flashing at the corner of the corridor not far away. So he quickly closed the door of the ward, put on the mask, and pretended to be nothing, and pushed the cart in that direction. Just as he was about to reach the corner, a slightly plump young female nurse walked towards him. He smiled kindly at the round face of the other party and said, "Good afternoon, Dr. Zhu. Today's second update has been delivered. Well, there is only one day left for New Year's Day. Little angels should take the time to rest." 030. Chapter 249 Come, drink medicine for a long time 3. Zhu Wangming was very familiar with this face. After all, she was an assistant nurse who was transferred to his side not long after he started working in the hospital. "Good afternoon, Nurse Zhao." He responded politely. Zhao Zai's smile became even brighter. She first stared at Zhu Wangming and then moved her eyes to the cart. "Why didn't Dr. Zhu call me 4 ounce? And how can you push this cart yourself?" As she said that, she walked to Zhu Wangming's side enthusiastically and put her hand on the handle of the cart very naturally. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming let go of the handle and took a step back. "I'm just here to change the dressing for a little patient. She is shy and likes quiet." Zhao Zai was stunned for a moment and then took over the cart. "Is it Xiao Wen? I was in charge of her last hospitalization, so Dr. Zhu, you can let me go to deliver things to her and change the dressing next time. We have met before. She shouldn't be afraid of me, and everyone says that I smile very kindly." Her words were both natural and playful, and she had the vitality of a young girl in her early 20s. Zhu Wangming took a few steps forward and stepped into the elevator, curling his lips slightly and said, "Okay." Seeing that he agreed easily, Zhao Zai followed into the elevator with a cart. What disease did Xiao Wen have this time? I didn't see her go to the medical cabin. It's just a minor problem. It's just that her physical condition is poor, so she needs to rest for a few days. Zhao Zai smiled again. When she heard this, Xiao Wen should really take good care of her body. I remember that, when she came last time, her physical value was up and down, which scared me. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming just tightened his mask and said, "Yes, but Nurse Zhao, didn't you take 3 days off? Why are you back on the second day?" "Oh, I finished dealing with things at home, so I rushed back to work." They chatted casually, and after going down to the first floor, Zhu Wangming strode out of the elevator, and Zhao Zai followed closely behind with the cart. "By the way, Zhao Zai, I put the empty bottles of Xiao Wen's medicine on the second floor of the cart. Please remember to clean them up in time." Zhu Wangming stopped walking and looked back at Zhao Zai with a smile. Okay. Zhao Zai nodded quickly. "Then I'll go clean them up now, so that I can go to the ward with you this afternoon." After that, she pushed the cart towards the garbage dump. Zhu Wangming looked at her with deep eyes, and then walked out of the hospital lobby with a brisk pace. Zhao Zai pushed the cart around and around, and after entering the garbage dump, she squatted down and searched for a while on the second floor, and then carefully stuffed the 2 empty bottles into another cart, abandoned in the room. After stuffing them in, she took out a pen and drew a few lines on the rusty cart. After doing all this, she stood up and pushed the cart again and quickly left the garbage dump. At about the same time as Zhu Wangming said, at 2:30, a strange doctor and 2 nurses entered Wen Jiu's ward. After waking her up, they said they were taking her for a follow-up physical examination. So Wen Jiu put on her hospital gown obediently and followed them to the place for the follow-up examination. "Good children will get candy." One of the nurses coaxed her in a very sweet tone. "Come, sister will check how your body is recovering." Although Wen Jiu thought the other party's way of coaxing her was stupid, she still cooperated with them obediently. In addition to the doctor and the 2 nurses in the examination room, there was another person wearing a white coat but doing nothing. The man just stood quietly at the edge with an electronic panel in his hand. His eyes glanced at Wen Jiu from time to time, and after a while he looked back at the electronic panel in his hand. "Come, let's see if your physical condition has improved first." The nurse helped Wen Jiu lie on a leather bed. Then she pulled down a semicircular instrument, which floated on her body. After the nurse shouted the word "close your eyes," the instrument began to emit light and scan up and down. Zhu Wangming had done a re-examination on her before, so she knew that this instrument was used to check her physical condition. After half a minute, the nurse turned off the instrument and helped her up from the leather bed. "The physical value is still D, no change and no fraud." Wen Jiu's ears moved slightly, and she heard a nurse reporting to the doctor. After the nurse's voice fell, the doctor and the weirdo not far away showed a trace of doubt on their faces. Then Wen Jiu was taken by the nurse to test her superpowers and superpower potential, but the results were the same as the submitted information. The last item. Wen Jiu stood on the familiar platform, and she knew that the next test was her mental power level and potential. In fact, her previous re-examination process did not check her mental power, so this item was just added by those people. What we are going to do next is a mental power test. This test is similar to the test method you have in the academy, both of which are condensing light balls and manipulating patterns. After the nurse sister finished speaking, she controlled the instrument to start. Wen Jiu turned her back to the long pole and looked straight ahead. Soon, 2 tentacles came towards her temple. The moment the suction cup touched her, the lights in the room dimmed. She thought about what Zhu Wangming said while slowly condensing the ball of light, and even pretended to be a little difficult. After a minute, she finally condensed the ball of light into a small ball. In order to show the appearance of B-level mental power, she took a few breaths before continuing to control the pattern. After this series of operations, Wen Jiu's face turned pale when she walked off the platform. Although the real B-level mental power would not be so difficult during the test, she is still a weak patient, so it is normal to have some difficulties. The mental power test level is B and the mental power potential is B. Considering the target's weakness, the final result is slightly biased, but it is almost the same as the information submitted by the college. Except for the nurse, who had been coaxing her, the others gathered together and whispered, but the weird man still had a skeptical look on his face. After a long while, the strange man walked in front of Wen Jiu and looked at her with a sinister look. Let her do another blood test to prevent someone from affecting the test results with something. After saying that, he stepped back and let others take Wen Jiu to have her blood drawn for testing. The blood test report came out soon. After the strange man checked the report on the electronic panel, his face became more solemn. Mr. Zhu, the report shows that her blood is normal and there are no drug components. Do you think it is possible to report it to the higher-ups? The doctor next to him whispered in a flattering manner, and the 2 nurses bowed their heads very respectfully. However, the man called Mr. Zhu was still suspicious. He slowly walked to Wen Jiu and squatted down. Little girl, uncle was called by teacher you to protect your safety. Tell uncle, has anyone given you any medicine to drink? Wen Jiu blinked and thought hard for a while, and then said, Uncle, does nutrient solution count as medicine? Today's 3rd update is also delivered. Thank you for the support of every little angel. Thank you everyone. 030. Chapter 250. Just an actor 1. Hearing this, Zhu Chenggen's eyes flashed with joy. Yes, of course. Oh, someone sent me nutrient solution as lunch at noon today. Wen Jiu showed a sweet smile. I drank it all obediently, but I felt very sleepy after drinking it. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhu Chenggen took out an empty nutrient solution bottle from behind. Is this the nutrient solution you drank? Wen Jiu smelled the faint apple smell when he first came over, so she was not surprised when Zhu Chenggen took out the empty nutrient solution bottle. It was also because she smelled the apple smell that she admitted that she had drunk the nutrient solution. After all, the other party found the empty nutrient solution bottle, so they must have found another empty medicine bottle. Therefore, if she lied and denied it, it would be suspicious. It would be better to pretend to be ignorant and admit it. What's more, drinking nutrient solution is normal. She only needs to admit that she drank the nutrient solution and blur the fact that she drank the medicine. Hey, let me see. When Jiu blinked and moved closer, it seems to be this one. After she finished speaking, the other party really took out the empty medicine bottle again. Then tell your uncle, have you drunk this medicine? Zhu Chenggen said, while shaking the 2 empty bottles with a smile. Under the cold white light, his smile seemed particularly strange, and there was a rather eerie atmosphere in the examination room. When Jiu pursed her lips and then frowned, pretending to be trying hard to recall. After a moment, she shook her head and said, I don't remember. I felt very sleepy after drinking that bottle of nutrient solution. So sleepy that I couldn't even open my eyes, and then I seemed to fall asleep. She rubbed her eyes while speaking, as if she was still very sleepy at this moment. Hearing this, Zhu Chenggen's face instantly fell. His tone was no longer as joyful as before, and he just said coldly, lying is not a good behavior. Uncle hopes you can tell the truth, whether you drank this bottle of potion or not. Otherwise, you will never see your beloved teacher Yu again. What a guy. He still has two faces. He can even act in a drama with his face changing skills. Wen Jiu complained silently in his heart, but his face showed a trace of panic, and then he calmed down and said, I didn't lie. What happened to teacher Yu? Why can't I see her? There was no way. She had to act like a child, but she couldn't be too naive, otherwise it would look too fake and easy to be exposed. After all, this person's accomplice had contacted her in the academy, and if she acted too innocent, it would not fit the character setting. The best way is to act half-truthfully, and Wen Jiu is still very confident in her acting skills. After all, she has relied on acting to trick her senior brothers and sisters a few times. Answer my question first. Zhu Chenggen came closer, half closed his eyes, and stared at Wen Jiu. Did you drink this bottle of medicine? Wen Jiu made an expression of trying to recall, and then shook his head again. Uncle, I really don't remember. Hearing her words, Zhu Chenggen continued to stare at her and observe her expression, and then changed the question and said, then tell uncle, who brought you the nutrient solution at noon today? Wen Jiu began to think quickly about how to answer this question. She didn't know what Zhu Wangming's plan was, and she certainly couldn't tell the truth to trick him. So the best way was to fool him with half the truth. Well, it was the doctor uncle and the nurse sister. She looked at Zhu Chenggen sincerely, with a righteous attitude, that what she said was the truth. Doctors and nurses usually make rounds together in the hospital, so there was no loophole in her answer. I just don't know if Zhu Wangming has made arrangements. I hope her teammate can be more powerful. Really? Zhu Chenggen's face was still gloomy, but uncle heard that there is only one doctor named Zhu coming to check on you today. So are you lying to uncle? The atmosphere suddenly became stiff, and Zhu Chenggen's eyes were cold. The chill made the other three people lower their heads silently and move closer to the wall, fearing that they would be implicated. Wen Jiu quickly calmed down and asked in a very puzzled tone, Uncle, are you kidding me? It's obviously the doctor uncle and the nurse sister who came together. After the words fell, Zhu Chenggen just stared at her quietly, trying to find the flaws in her expression. However, after a minute, he didn't find the slightest flaw. Then he stood up and looked at the three people in the corner and said, send her back to the ward. Hearing this, two nurses immediately came over and wanted to take Wen Jiu out of the examination room. But Wen Jiu turned back after taking 2 steps and asked in a troubled and worried tone, Uncle, I have answered all the questions you asked me, so can you tell me what happened to teacher Yu? There was a hint of anxiety in her eyes, which made Zhu Chenggen feel that he had won. Children are still children after all. They are young and have no social experience. They are the easiest to coax and deceive. So Zhu Chenggen answered in a gentle tone, your teacher Yu was framed by bad people and is in a very difficult situation now. He observed Wen Jiu while speaking and saw that the other party's expression became more and more uneasy. Then he added a few more sentences. Uncle and she have been friends for many years. This time I came to you to help her solve her troubles. So you have to trust uncle. If you want to help teacher Yu out of trouble, you have to cooperate with uncle. Wen Jiu twisted his fingers anxiously, looking very entangled. However, Zhu Chenggen did not rush to say anything more. He just waved his hand and said, go back to the ward and have a good rest. Your uncle's friend will come to see you later. After he finished speaking, the two nurses pulled Wen Jiu to the door, one on each side. When Wen Jiu was being pulled away by them, he looked back at Zhu Chenggen several times, like a child who was anxious and flustered because he had lost his support. Zhu Chenggen, on the other hand, wore a perfunctory smile until she and the nurses left the examination room. Take these 2 empty bottles for testing and keep someone watching Wen Jiu. He handed the 2 bottles to the doctor who stayed behind with an expressionless face. Also, think of a way to get the surveillance video outside the ward to see if she is lying. Upon hearing this, the doctor quickly took the bottle. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "Our hospital does have doctors and nurses cooperating in ward rounds." He had just said half of his words when he saw Zhu Cheng'an staring at him coldly. "Are you saying that the information I got is wrong?" No. Being stared at coldly like that, he had to lower his head and answer respectfully, "I will do my best to get the surveillance video according to your arrangements." Today's first update is delivered on time. Please check it out, little angels. 030 once again sighing that conspiracies are so difficult to write. The young author is the kind of person who is straightforward, and it's really hard to come up with this kind of plot. ORZ. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.